Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 250 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
Yes, indeed it is. And this time we got it right. There was no stuttering, slurring as we got through the door, got the episode number right. We wanted to do 250 last week, for those who recall. Got it this time, though. Welcome to our humble little show here where we talk about the latest and greatest in gaming. We cover all the highlights of gaming news each week. This week in particular, it is going to be a fun episode. We're going through this new Summerfest games that got announced. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Xbox is having an event. We got The Last of Us Part 2 leaks. Battlefront, the original Battlefront's back. We're going to be answering your Patron questions. All of that's tucked into this delicate episode that'll definitely not be short. So get comfortable, get very comfortable. Put on your favorite game or take out a book. I don't know how you could listen to us and read a book.
Get a hemorrhoid pillow.
Yeah, something. Something that you can just do while you relax and listen to our soothing voices. On the other side of the spectrum, we both run Patreons. My Patreon in particular helps fuel this show. We give early access there. I do want to address one thing. I read the exit surveys when people leave the Patreon for whatever reason. And to my surprise, when I went back, I still have yet to see a negative exit survey, which I'm like, okay, cool. Like, no one's gotten pissed enough at me yet to be like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm out.
But someone had actually left saying that they would sign up to the Patreon if there were video versions of the podcast available for early access. So I just wanted to take a moment to just break down our process here, because the reason I do early access for the audio only is because to render out the whole video is about a good couple of hours. Like, and as Karak, because he knows my time frame, like the show ends and I literally have early access up within 20 minutes. That's usually by 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. And then after all that, I'll start rendering the video, and that'll be done by 10, 11 o'clock at night, which then I'll upload onto my channel, and that'll probably process until about 12:30, 1 in the morning. So essentially, early access would begin late Friday or very early on Saturday, and it just ultimately wouldn't give you guys any value to the early access. So I just wanted to make sure people know when we provide early access, I mean, I get it out ASAP, and that's why we do audio only. Not to pull this patron back, it's their money, they choose what they want to do. But for those who have considered signing up, do know it is the audio only version. So it's like as if you were listening on iTunes or Spotify, those other platforms we're available on. You get that version of the podcast over there. And so I apologize if anyone's ever felt misled by that. It was just this one person, but I just wanted to make sure it was clarified. But
I actually think, dude.
Sorry.
No,
I was gonna pass it over to your Patreon, but you were gonna speak anyway, so go for it.
Yeah, I've got a patron, and we don't offer you early anything, so don't sign up. I'm just joking. There's random shit on there. I was just gonna say it's actually better, I think, that you jump ahead. My fucking eyes are killing me. I'm sorry. This is like the 4th hour I've been on a podcast.
You're good.
So
That's
I actually think it makes sense to, even if it is one person, because dude, if you look at your exit interviews for patron, there'll be times where something will pop up that either is like flatly wrong, like, whoa, this is not what's happening. I need to make sure I cover this. Like, I need to make sure I inform somebody, because if one person's thinking it, you can bet more than one person's experienced it. But I actually think that kind of...
Be alone, buddy. Here, I'll put on some glasses too.
There we go. Some gunners. Those are gunner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know gunner a mile away, but so I actually think, the exit interviews are really useful. I mean, sometimes you'll get somebody who's just a jerk, and I have more, so I'll get it before you will. But most of the time, it's actually useful because somebody, like, they'll say something, like, you'll see them leave and you won't know why they left, and they might say, I only planned on giving the creator money for a certain amount of time. You're like, this is awesome. I know exactly why they left. I can dial it in. I understand. I think that's actually one of the better parts of Patron, because I'm not a big fan of the behind the scenes of Patron. Their email system sucks and blows at the same time. It's terrible. So it's cool that you're able to actually look and say, oh shit, somebody thinks this, or somebody's got this question. I'm going to go ahead and cover it. But I was just going to say for mine, we don't really have, we've been doing a ton of streaming in the Discord. That's like the main thing we've been doing.
I love that feature. We've been using that lately with my friends and I. I was watching my friend play some VR games a couple of nights ago. It was just fun.
Yep. And it's easier than if you don't want to announce to Twitch, for whatever reason, or you're busy and you don't want to get dressed, but you just want to show a game, but people are expecting a face cam. Discord's come through. I hate a lot of stuff about them, but they've definitely come through with strong. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I love the platform between the streaming, the channels, being able to have giant groups, gather together for various things. They've been really clutch, especially nowadays. And to my surprise, I mean, they've had a couple of issues here or there, but they really haven't buckled during what I imagine is a high amount of usage of their platform. So big thank you to Discord. We use them for our podcast too. So that's when, if you guys recall, we used to have, when we used Skype, Karak had patience with me because, we were all using Skype. Yeah. And it just, our calls dropped. We kept falling out, connection wise. It just was a constant problem, especially when we had Lone on and it was Australia.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah. We used to have really big problems with the show initially, and I'd have to chop up the episodes and slap it all together, and it would sound a little weird at times. So yeah, Discord, long story short, has been pretty clutch. Have you been playing any games this week?
Snow Runner, which is I don't know how to describe it, man. It's just you take a 4x4 vehicle out and you deliver wood. It's one of those simulator games, but I'm telling you right now, it's probably one of the, I did a video. It's one of the most zen games you'll ever play. And it probably, some people are like, well, if you like that, why don't you like Death Stranding? Because you're walking around. The thing about this game is you're just driving a 4x4 and you're just exploring and trying to deliver items to a wood mill or whatever. It doesn't require you to read a bunch or to pay attention to the story like Death Stranding. It's much more just the travel element.
Cool.
And I've been playing the shit out of that, and then Tabletop Simulator. We did last night. We tested because we're going to be doing some patron stuff, and it was we got 8 people in there to sort of buckle the network to see if Discord would handle it. And it was crazy. Discord, it nailed that. We had no issues, and we just played the shit out of Tabletop Simulator, so many hours. So that's pretty much it, other than, the side games here and there.
Yeah, I was looking into Tabletop Simulator because a couple of my friends have it. One of my buddies he plays D&D on it, and I was thinking, just inspired off what you've talked about with your patrons, I was like, there's definitely a lot of card games, board games, and so on that would be awesome to get people together every week or so and do something like that. So if you're listening and you're a patron and you're part of the Discord, shoot me a message if you guys have any ideas, because I love Mansions of Madness and stuff, but is that even available on tabletop?
Every game is. Wow. I mean, I'm not even gonna I don't think that's a joke, but every game that I've seen is available on tabletop. It's so Tabletop Simulator is a simulator, so it's the nerdy version of a tabletop, which means there can be some issues with making sure people don't flip the cards off the table, blah blah blah. There's Tabletopia, which is another tabletop simulator where they have full games where you buy the actual game or you pay a subscription and the actual game is scripted. So you can say draw 5 cards, it'll draw 5 cards. It has the rules scripted. But Tabletop Simulator, I mean, dude, HeroClix isn't super popular. That's the game I always talk about. And they've got 2,200 miniatures that people 3D photoed and put in the game. And that's a fairly not well-known game. But every game like you're talking about, Mansion of Madness, Gloomhaven, any of the big and small table, they're almost all there. I mean, it would be very hard pressed for you to find a game that doesn't have at least one version.
All right. Yeah, because that's what was kind of leading me towards it. I've been playing a lot more board games with my family and stuff, and we don't play the hardcore board games, so to speak.
Yeah,
so
but I mean, any board game, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that type of fix. So you've been playing Snow Runner. Anything else on top of that?
I played a couple hacking games. I know I don't think we've ever talked about these, but I'm a big fan of a game called Nite4, NITE4, which is basically a pseudo augmented reality game. You still have a front end on your PC, but you're doing things like pretending to hack government websites and find out about murders and all this stuff. And they have 3 games. Black Watchman was their original, and Black Watchman still has augmented reality games. So if you go to an event like PAX, there actually is Black Watchman events going on, but you'll never know because they purposely make you find them by playing Black Watchman. So it's all the secretive, why is this piece of paper here when you go to PAX? And then you'll be like, oh my God, that's Black Watchman. And then you can find some event room that they've checked out and you can go in and they have in-character stuff. It's very cool. It's a lot of X-Files.
Awesome.
Yeah, Black Watchman's been going for like, I think the first time I reviewed it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and they've added each game they add adds an element. So Black Watchman is your FBI / police investigator. Night 4 is your hacker, and you can do missions that interlace with each other. That's pretty much it. The rest of the time, just hanging out with family, trying to make sure I don't get fucking COVID and die.
Yep.
I'm not lying, man. Like, I'm just like hanging out in the house, just waiting.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
It sucks for me because I shouldn't say for me, but it sucks for everyone. But like, I usually got at least some fresh air. But
I know.
I hurt my leg this last week. I don't know what happened. I think I busted my knee somehow when I was just jogging. I stupidly didn't stretch one of these times, and I must have pulled something in my knee or something, because like my knee / hip has been like aching like a bitch, man. And so, what's kind of helped balance out this whole situation is I go on walks for about an hour and a half, that, or I jog for about an hour, something like that. And it's just like the change in scenery helps so much. But like lately, between a lot of work and just having zero ability to exercise, I've just been sitting here like, man, just another day in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been tough this week for sure. So I feel you on that. But fortunately, we have games that transport us to another reality. See, it's weird. I very rarely ever say this, but I have not had a ton of time this week to game. I've been playing a lot of 76. Some people may have caught my stream a couple of days ago. I played that with Kev Do It. That was one of the most fun streams I've ever had. That was just a really good time. Him and I were talking afterwards, and that was kind of what all of us envisioned 76 would be like. It was just a blast. Like, it was just us yelling, and crazy things were constantly happening, and it was insanely fun. We recorded a video together, which should be available sometime within the next few days. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun on 76 because of Wastelanders, and it's been nice to collab with people. So that's been the majority of my gaming. For the past couple of nights, though, I played about an hour and a half each night of Persona 5. This weekend, I'm really I'm buckling in, and I'm gonna plow through a lot of the game. Just because now it's like hanging. When you have a game, you're taking your time with it, and you take too much time.
Yeah.
And so I'm 65 hours in, which is good, but it's been out for a month. And I remember when the first P5 came out, it took me a month to beat. And I know I just finished the 4th Palace. I'm like halfway there when you really think about it. And I'm like, okay, now I've got to really let's buckle our seatbelts and really get at it. I've taken my time with it. Now I'm not gonna rush, of course, but I'm gonna play with a purpose, right? Like, I'm not gonna smell the roses every 5 steps like I have been, just because it's such a large game and I love it to death. It's easily my game of the year already. But you want to also play other things, and with such a big task sitting over you, I mean, every game after this is gonna look minimal in comparison.
Right.
Like, 40 hours, I did that twice, 3 times, in one game, so I got this. But yeah, I'm starting to wrap up some social links in that game, and I'm in August, I think August 12th, so we're getting there. Maybe I'd say we're past the halfway point, but it's still like one of those games that's been hanging, and it's like, all right, now I got to really push to finish before something sneaks up on you, right? In our line of work, something comes out, and you're like, I do want to play this, and then you start mixing storylines, and it just gets. It gets to, like, you start to, I don't want to say lose appreciation, but you can't deeply appreciate it as much if you're not fully invested in that one experience, I'd say. That's why I always cap out at 2. But yeah, that's kind of been my gaming for the week. Normally I have a lot more to say, but I haven't had time. Just been doing a lot of work. And with that, let's get into our first bit of news. This one's really significant. So we were prepared for a summer of no E3. With that, probably no game announcements, but Geoff Keighley and company have come up with something that may be this summer's saving grace. It's called Summer Game Fest, a new digital celebration, and it promises months of gaming news and events. So we're going to be reading an article from The Verge from top to bottom, so go ahead and give them a click. Summer Game Fest, a new, quote, industry-wide celebration of video games, end quote, will span from May through August. It was announced today, which is May 1st. It will bring, quote, breaking news, in-game events and free playable content, end quote, from companies across the across the games industry all season long. Geoff Keighley will act as both curator and host for pre and post shows in a lineup that includes companies such as Bethesda, Blizzard Entertainment, CD Projekt Red, Electronic Arts, Microsoft, Riot, Sony, and Square Enix. And then it goes on to cover how late last summer, a huge number of announcements were obviously pushed back because of what's going on with COVID around us. Unlike those conferences, which last a few days and rely heavily on in-person presence, Summer Game Fest is built to function as an all-digital event. And once again, they're saying it runs from May to August, making it the first gaming festival of its kind. Events will stream via all major channels, including Facebook, Mixer, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. As for details around those specific events, publishers will handle those announcements directly. Platforms such as Steam and Xbox will also offer demos and trials of some of the games for a limited time. The Steam Game Festival Summer Edition is set for June 9th to the 14th. And then Geoff Keighley provided a comment saying, in these uncertain and challenging times, it's more important than ever that video games serve as a common and virtual connection point between us all. Summer Games Festival is an organizing principle that promises fans a whole season of video game news and other surprises from the comfort of home. So, Karak, what do you think of Summer Games Festival? Are you excited about this?
I am. It's just the length of it, because like it sounds like it's going to be pretty prolonged, and I have a tendency to like. So I don't know if you're a binge show watcher or you're a long, episode watcher, but sometimes, well, it's almost like the game Persona. You were saying
I was
you can be in
to
the
say give or
yeah,
take,
right.
Depends
So
on what it is.
Right. So you can be in the middle of it and you sort of get lost and you're like, oh my God, I either need to shit or get off the pot. I need to finish this thing or I need to do something else. And I think that is a issue with this, where maybe I'll lose some of my excitement if it continues to go on. I will say I did hear, and it's nice to see that backed up. I did hear that a number of companies are now scheduling in resources to create more demos purposely because of all the shit going on. So what you just said as well, Microsoft and Steam both being called out as in particular for doing demos. From what I'm understanding, we will definitely see more demos from companies we have not seen demos from before.
Good.
And so that to me is super exciting. I think demos are the best way to go. Like, let somebody check it out. I know it's hard for a company to figure out how they're going to cut it up, what they're going to show. You don't want to show too much, right? You don't want to show your main story hit, but so it's exciting in that way for me. I still wish there was an event, because I love the pomp and circumstance of one particular event, but
I agree.
This is the best we could probably hope for this year, if not next year. Like, I don't know if this is the new thing or not. Like, it may just be the new thing,
Yeah. I mean, talk about really good timing for Geoff, because we knew he was pulling out of E3 before it got canceled, and then it did get shut down, and now this got announced. And I think, I mean, we said when he left E3, we kind of, I don't want to say called this bluff. That's not really the right words, but we said like he had an ulterior motive, like they were a direct competitor. Yeah. And now when this is announced by his company afterwards, I think it's pretty obvious that's why he left working with the ESA. And man, if anything, you can see at least the Game Awards as of late has a heart, a soul to it. A lot of people feel that doesn't shine at E3. So at least knowing that Geoff Keighley's team is behind it is really good, because we might see a little more passion on display. He loves showing off smaller games too. But I'm excited from the game trial front as well. I think, Bethesda started doing that with, I think, Dishonored as well as Prey, and just giving people like an hour with the game and saying, hey, if you like this, you continue playing. Just getting their foot in the door. Kevin and I were talking about this after our stream, saying that with 76, like, that game needs a free weekend, like a weekend where the game's just handed out for free. Because you might lose hundreds of thousands of sales, but you have now tons of people in on that player base who can be participating in the new updates that they'll probably be announcing very soon. I've heard a roadmap's coming sometime within the next week. And so I just think a lot of companies, and understandably so, just look purely at sales numbers and those margins, and don't consider what benefit it can have just to give someone an opportunity, right? A chance to test it out. I think maybe we've seen a good step in the right direction when we got Square Enix doing, for example, a Final Fantasy demo. I thought that was really cool. So I'm not too surprised to hear we'll be seeing more. Do you think this also brings a bit of rationale to decisions like companies such as Bethesda have made? They said they weren't going to do a digital experience at all, and they took the longest to make that choice, right? We look at Microsoft, and they immediately were like, boom, we're doing digital event. E3's canceled. Ubisoft, day of, boom, we're doing a digital event. Do you think that Bethesda maybe took a while to answer, and then their decision ultimately makes a little more sense now that we see Summer Game Festival exists?
Yeah, and especially like whatever deal, these companies make, they're pretty big. So it's like they can make a deal with this new thing saying we want an hour or 2 hours. And I think the thing is people will show up for Bethesda who like Bethesda or maybe hate Bethesda, right? Those are your two fans.
Sure, the latter.
Yeah. So, but for this, you will get Bethesda fans as well as your other fans. It's almost like when you go to a concert, there's shirt sales there because there's people at the concert who are already there. So right. I think in a way, having these companies like a Bethesda say, yeah, we'll do that. That helps them. They'll get their normal people that they always get. They're going to get the tail end from people checking out other videos and other stuff. I will say the thing about Heart, I don't think E3 I don't personally believe, as somebody who's like followed E3 since I began, I don't think it could have ever had Heart because it was a multi-day event. And I don't believe PAX has Heart. I think a 2-hour event like game trailers could have a Heart because there's a focus there. So I think some people saying that are just the typical, like, not anti-E3, but probably expecting something from E3 I personally wasn't expecting, which is just, it is an event that shows a bunch of stuff. And I do believe that this has the same chance of being a little less heartful because it is bigger and longer.
Absolutely.
Like trying to keep sporadic. The focus. Yeah. So, but it's exciting no matter, it's good no matter what, because these companies, dude, I don't know if a lot of these companies even knew what they were going to do, because the people I talked to, there's one company, there's only like 25 to 40 people there. And they were telling me that when E3 was canceled, like their budget had already been to make a demo for E3. So they lost that money, right? Because there's no E3. There's literally no E3. So what do? Well, then, do we do a back end where we offer a demo through Steam or Xbox if that's where they're publishing? So this kind of thing where they have an event, even if it's digital, that they can do is awesome. Because I would assume, like you said, Geoff covers everything, including small stuff. So most people can get in if they want to get in, which is cool.
Yeah, it sounds like a good opportunity. And I didn't think of that, right? The back end stuff where you had something prepped for E3, but no place to go with it.
What a disaster.
Your bags were packed with no plane tickets. So that's definitely a really good thing for those types of companies who are in a tight spot. I think Bethesda probably will have some type of presence there. And the reason I hone in on them is because a lot of people are asking me still, does my opinion on what's happening with Starfield change? Are they going to reveal it in 2020? I mean, it was definitely like a curveball, because I just made a video this week saying like, based off what's happening, obviously I don't think it's happening in 2020, and there's no like 76 sitting on top of them where they need to get that out the door in a timely manner to then focus on something, because after Starfield is Elder Scrolls 6, and they said they're waiting for technology with that. So I don't think they're in a rush for Starfield, and my perspective on that in particular doesn't change. We saw Warner Brothers. I thought that was way more exciting personally. We saw them on the list, and I was like, okay.
Way more.
They were supposed to have a conference at E3. Now they probably have been saved by this more than anyone.
And we have, because, dude, show us Harry Potter, like, God,
right?
I'm done. I'm done. I do have a question for you. So Starfield, so I would say, I could be wrong, but I would say in the past, I've felt that Ubisoft and Sony were a little closer. Sony always got the advertising rights for Assassin's Creed. That switched to Microsoft. However, Microsoft purchased Obsidian. I've always felt that Bethesda was closer to Microsoft. I've always felt there's something like they had a
100% true.
But do you believe that now that Obsidian is owned by MS, that there is a slightly higher chance that maybe we will see a Bethesda Sony kind of
Wow.
pseudo relationship go on?
Wow. That's a really good question. I had never thought of that. Because on one end, I think something that helped Obsidian out was that even if it's completely makeshift, by the way, it's totally caused by consumers. That competition, though, that people were just creating between Bethesda and Obsidian, I think it helped them a lot, because when Bethesda kind of misstep and then Obsidian comes out with the Outer Worlds, that was a huge springboard for that game. And anyone who says no is kidding themselves. That
was massive.
Yeah, absolutely. When they announced Fallout first, the same week that Obsidian dropped the Outer Worlds, that I guarantee that I will go to the length of saying at least 200,000 copies were sold because of that. I guarantee it. That stupid blunder, or timing of the blunder even, because it was going to happen regardless. Just, my God, man. That they helped Obsidian out so much. So if I'm Microsoft, put them in your show, because if it works, good. You got a good partner who's going to keep filling up your shows, and you can continue something that's obviously beneficial to them. And if it doesn't work out and Obsidian blows them out of the water, guess what? Your first party studio just got a pretty good one up there. And that certainly helps them. So I feel they win either way. When it comes to PlayStation, I just feel Bethesda's always been quick to throw them under the bus for literally anything. and number two is that when you look at stuff like modding, their performance of the game on PlayStation, it has just never been good. Every time now since I've streamed 76 now on PC, people are like, how did you last on PS4 for like 90 hours? And I just kind of shrug my shoulders, but I get where they're coming from, because when you're playing on PC, I mean, obviously it's always a night and day difference, but I'm saying when it comes to 76, like, you can tell something's not good with that PS4 version. It's very, very janky. Like, it feels infinitely better. It improved my opinion on the game, even the PC version. It's smooth. It looks better. It just looks nice. It controls better. Just everything about it feels pretty good. The only thing I don't like is the controls for the settlement mode. It feels very like console porty. But yeah, that's a really good question. I think that ultimately Microsoft is going to stick with Bethesda, because Bethesda doesn't just offer Bethesda game studios, right? They still offer Ghostwire Tokyo. They still offer Doom. And so I think Microsoft, even if they don't see value in Bethesda game studios, they might see value in.
For some reason, I was thinking it the opposite way, that it was Bethesda choosing, and that Bethesda, knowing Obsidian and Bethesda had a little bit of back and forth about Outer Worlds, and there was a little bit of Twitter humor. But you're right. They I had forgotten Bethesda and Sony, obviously, in all the way to the PS3 have had issues with
crossplay.
Their games
that too.
Yeah, their games working, and for that. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe Microsoft will double down and be like, not only do we own Obsidian, but Bethesda also wants to work closely with us. And boom, I was just surprised, and I sort of piggybacked it on that Assassin's Creed is Microsoft getting the marketing, which has never occurred before.
Yeah.
I was just thinking along those lines.
It's a couple things, right? Like, if you look at Bethesda specifically, when the DualSense got announced, Pete Hines was one of the first developers / company heads to come out and talk about a hands-on experience with it. And so, I mean, that I think signifies that their relationship with PlayStation isn't as disastrous as it seems. The other thing is that Microsoft could always be a mediator between Bethesda and Obsidian, if that's the proper word.
No, it is. I know what you mean.
Cool. All right, yeah, thank you. They could help them kind of mend, if you will, a relationship. I also think that a lot of people overestimate what happened with Obsidian and Bethesda. Every time I've seen commentary on it from anyone within either company, it's always been like,
you're right.
It's whatever. And so if there was anything that needed to be settled, I'm sure, let's say that this was holding back the long sought after New Vegas remaster, right? And this bonus check that was not delivered in 2010, a decade ago, mind you,
with half of the employees on both companies not working there anymore.
Exactly, right? So if that was what was holding it back, I'm sure Microsoft could step in and be like, hey guys, we all win here. Let's do this. I think there's just no interest from either company to work together. I think they do definitely make games too close to one another where it doesn't benefit them. But when it comes to, let's say, re-releasing something, I'd be, just based off the staff I know at Obsidian, I'd be very shocked if they weren't like, yeah, go for it. I would imagine it's Bethesda not wanting to do the footwork to make it happen.
Do you know what reminds me of Obsidian and Bethesda with Fallout with Fallout New Vegas is who did it? I can't remember, but Batman Origins versus all the other Batman
Warner
Arkham
Brothers
games.
Montreal.
Yeah, so you got all these
exist.
other yeah, right? Dude, even the fucking excuse my language, the collector's edition just came out and it was not on there. It was like Origins didn't exist. And first of all, I have a soft spot for Origins. I actually like Origins. And it is weird. They have absolutely nuked that entire game from existence.
Isn't it strange because they're having them like soft reboot the franchise apparently? Like that's what reports are saying. Why would you do that? Why would you ostracize it? I don't get it.
I don't either. I don't either. It's such a weird situation with that. It's sad.
It really is, man. Yeah, that too. It's extremely sad. Do you have any predictions that come to mind? Because, with this Summer Games Fest, it obviously changes the whole dynamic of announcements and everything. Do you see anything that maybe we thought, oh, that's not happening now because E3's gone, happening? I know obviously Warner Brothers is the most obvious, right? Harry Potter and probably whatever Rocksteady's doing. But does anything else leap to mind instantly?
Since Phil now has gone on the record the third time stating that while the hardware is not delayed, some of these games may be delayed at Microsoft Studios, my opinion is you will see a much larger third-party contingent discussing some kind of Xbox partnership. I have a feeling Microsoft feels pretty ahead. And now that we know, and I'm assuming they mean Halo, but they just continue. He just keeps saying games are behind the scenes due to this. Games might be delayed. And I just have this feeling in my gut that he keeps mentioning it because it's Halo that he's talking about. Right. And so to me, I would assume we will see more of the Ubisoft kind of thing where it's like Microsoft getting marketing or best played on Xbox X Series, which is just like Sony used to say, best experience you can possibly get is if you do the Sony PlayStation 4. So I see more of that kind of thing. And then, of course, WB is the only one. If you ask me of all the companies I'm interested in at this event, is actually WB to see because 100%. They're sitting on some stuff that they're still sitting on Mordor, which they could do whatever with that, whether they go and do another game or what. But they do have, Batman, whatever. And then they've got Harry Potter, which Harry Potter has not seen a real game release ever. Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry. There was one for the PC years ago that was like
Are you talking about like a standalone that's not based off the movies?
That's not Lego. Sorry, is what I meant. That's not. I mean a real game.
World Cup, I think.
Well, that's what I mean. A real game, like a third person. Right. Like a I don't know how to just. Yeah, like a thingiverse. And I just feel that Harry Potter is absolutely. People desire that. There has been a desire for that for a long time. It's never come about. And WB, if they could be known as the Mordor, Batman, Harry Potter company, dude, good Lord. Think of the IP of that. The IP of that is massive, especially when you have like the new Lord of the Rings coming to Amazon, the new TV show, which is $1 million an episode. Or no, sorry. I think it's $100 million an episode. It's some gargantuan amount of money. So I just think that we'll see a lot from WB. That's my hope. That's like the one thing I like really feel will happen.
Yeah, and that doesn't even account for all the Lego games that they've done.
Yeah, right, of course.
DC Lego games, it's insane. So yeah, I'm with you. I look most forward to seeing what they're doing. Any outside stuff will just be a welcome surprise. CD Projekt Red was on the list, so naturally we're going to see Cyberpunk, nothing else. I saw Private Division on the list. That a lot of people thought that meant The Outer Worlds, but they've published a lot of other titles.
Control, didn't they do Control? Maybe they didn't do. Maybe that was 505.
Control was 505. Yeah. I think they help publish Journey to the Savage Planet, or am I just I might be mixing those up with The Outer Worlds because those two kind of look similar.
It might have been them or 505. Again, they overlap for some reason in my head. I don't know why.
Yeah, man, it's just wild. Like I'm just pumped that we have something to look forward to. I saw a lot of people sort of breathing a sigh of relief because it was like a ritual, right? Like we always had something in the summer to really look forward to, and with that gone, it was weird because for us, and this might actually, I didn't think of this on the content creation end. You make a good point that, oh, well, things might get kind of soulless halfway through, but we've never had like a July, August that was busy.
No,
when
that's
you
what's
really look at
going to be cool. Yeah.
And when you have like Ghost coming out in July, and then you've got all these games also being announced, revealed, trailers through the whole summer, this can really change the whole dynamic. Like, I didn't even think of it that way. This actually shifts how the industry could function if successful. Because it used to be, all right, 3 days in June. All right, see you in September. And I never really thought of how monumental this can be if done right. I'm trying to get a picture of all the other companies.
Private Division's a good one to bring up because they do, and they also did some stuff that now Microsoft owns. I believe Private Division was the one who handled We Happy Few, because it was going to be an everything title or something. I can't remember, but there was a couple games like that, so they're big. And then I think it's also going to be fun to see, like, if there's this many, if it's that long, there'll probably be some of these smaller companies that I guess just sort of get lost, focus home. I'm always interested because they always just do weird shit. And so to me, I'm actually very interested in, Cyanide is another company that's much smaller. And then Big Ben is another publisher that is very small that bought the rights to Greedfall and bought the rights to something else big that we both liked. I can't remember.
Was it Vampire?
Might have been, because they overlap. Focus and Big Ben are like they like trade IPs. Yeah, so
yeah.
I would like to see any of that kind of stuff. And then I'm really hoping for a heads up on Vampire, the Masquerade. I don't know if it's still headed as soon as they say it is. And I think that at this event, if we don't see some Vampire, the Masquerade 2 stuff popping up, then we'll just assume it's going to be that it's delayed for sure. I do too. It looked rough as hell when they were showing video too.
Yeah.
So
I actually brought up the list just for companies that we had missed. So there's still 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Bungie, Extremes, EA, PlayStation actually, Riot Games, Square Enix, Steam, and then we talked about Warner Brothers, we talked about Xbox. So yeah, 2K I thought was probably the most standout of what I just listed there, because I thought of how they had recently announced a couple months back a new BioShock game. So that could be something they could show off. There's the new Mafia game that's reportedly still in development. EA also stood out to me because I had heard on pretty good authority that Mass Effect was supposed to come back this year. I'm not sure in what form. I imagine it was like a remastered trilogy or a remaster of some kind, but that's something I had heard, so I wouldn't have been too surprised if that had happened. But does anything else stand out to you from these lists? Anything you've heard?
No, I don't know if it's true or not. There's definitely been some stories about the possible remaster of Mass Effect, and there might be an issue there. We'll have to see if that's like if it gets shown or not. And if it doesn't, then we know that there is an issue. Because I think EA has an issue personally with like remastering and how they go about it and who they put on it and resources. And EA is a company that we just talked about this prior to the podcast starting, where like you think a game is coming out. Like I just told you, I was like, I played this game, and you're like, did that come out? I'm like, oh shit, no, because I was testing for it. And it just never came out. So, and EA is one of those companies that will go 2 years and go, nah, it's not for us. Like, we're dumping it. I would love to see a Mass Effect remaster, though. I mean, that would be awesome. That actually excites me a lot. I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to... There were rumors that they were going to fix the ending in a remaster. That, to me...
That I had not heard. Ooh.
Yeah, and to me, that would be, I don't know, I hate the ending, but I don't even know if that's smart. Like, that's like...
Imagine they make another bad ending.
Right. No, that's exactly, that's sort of what I mean. Like, right? Because you also have to, unless you're...
Bad restructures.
You'd have to...
I interrupted you.
No. It's just, that would be weird to me. And that was one rumor I had heard a year ago, and I was like, I just don't see how that's feasible. To do that, but I would love to see it.
During the main story of Mass Effect 3, I at least, and it's been a while since I played it, but I loved it, right? It was until the end when you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But I remember, and even then, like I was a little tunnel visioned where I still liked the ending, but then you went on the internet and you're like, oh, so this is what happened. Okay. And you kind of had clarity. But during the actual main story, I felt like it accounted for your choices and big moments relatively well from, like I said, what I am currently recalling. But at the same time, if you restructure the ending, then you got to work back, right? Then you have to consider choices throughout the game that were just the base game. Also, one major thing about Mass Effect was the ability to take Shepard from 1 to 2, and then those things be accounted for. And then especially if you had like a character from 1, like that started off in 1, choices that you made in that game would have to be accounted for in 3. So if they like overhauled 3, I think it's more than just the ending, right? It becomes every little thing. Like it would feel like work undone. Like, why did this change here but not this?
Yeah, true.
So I worry about that. That would be exciting, though. I don't know if it would turn out well, but I would be hyped if they were like, yeah, we're doing Mass Effect 1, 2, they're coming back, and 3, guess what, baby, is getting remastered. We're touching up the ending.
Okay, well,
like,
here's my question to you then. If they do here's what was told, like what was suggested to me is almost exactly what you said. They would have to switch a bunch of stuff if they did want to switch anything. However, one of the biggest problems, I don't agree with this, whatever, is that 1 is considered inferior by a great deal when it comes to combat. If they remaster 1's combat, why would they not remaster the issues in 3? And that's when you start getting into a weird tit for tat on how you remaster that title. Additionally, something was brought up. If you play 1, 2, and 3 back to back, which I have done, the story is actually fairly poor when it comes to the characterization of the NPCs episode to episode or game to game, because they change completely. You go from one group of heroes to a different, and then at the third one, you sort of mix them. And you have one or two who sort of meander between all 3, but really you do end up having an almost complete palette swap between each game. And the idea of, if you remaster the combat and then you remaster the ending, do you like put a cutscene in there to make things make a little more sense between 1 and 2 or 2 and 3? And I don't know, dude, I guess what I'm saying is it's a huge undertaking that it's not just a remaster. That would be
it's like a remake.
Right. That would be a full Final Fantasy VII style. Because if they just remaster it, Matty, I don't know if a lot of people would be happy. 1, I don't mind 1, but everybody agrees and doesn't agree with me that they didn't like the combat in 1. So are you going to remaster 1 with that kind of combat and then try to release it current? It would seem like it would piss a lot of people off.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's like also you got to rely on the consumer to just know, hey, you're playing a game from like 2006, right?
Yeah, true. That's true.
But yeah, on paper it seems simple, right? Like, hey, in Mass Effect 1, fix the combat. 2, I would just say don't touch. Like, please leave that game be. That game is so good. And then 3, like we said, the ending, some story beats within, you'd have to account for a lot there. But if you could make 20 different endings, right? That's like such a huge undertaking, but those endings all account for, like they had promised, man, like, oh, whatever you've built, whatever you've done will be accounted for in that final cutscene. That would redefine, if they actually went to that effort and then called it remaster, it would redefine what remaster means.
Because you know what's funny? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, it's funny this conversation comes up because I'm a big fan of Nier, and I know you are too, and they're remastering Nier Gestalt, or I'm sorry, it should be pronounced Gestalt. But they're remastering it, and at first everyone thought like, oh, they're just touching up the original Nier from a decade ago and re-releasing it. But Yoko Taro recently did an interview saying that, like, or was it Yoko Taro? I apologize, it might not have been. But someone who's working on the game said that they're redoing the combat to be more like Automata, and that's huge. That's not a... When you look at the combat from the original Nier, you could tell it was trying to be what Automata is now. Like, it wanted to be flashy, it wanted to be smooth, it wanted to throw enemies at you, it wanted to make you feel like powerful yet elegant. And to see that they're calling it a remaster still, but redoing the combat entirely, we still have yet to see what it looks like. But just that claim, like, Automata fans will be pleased. That would also be kind of in line with what we were saying with Mass Effect, where that would redefine to me remaster. It's like, that's totally different. That should be, really, it should be what remastering means by its definition, you're creating a mastery version of the game, right? Like it's the best possible version of it. It's not just it looks better, kind of like we came to expect for a while.
Yeah, and I think remake has now been redefined by Final Fantasy. Whether you love Final Fantasy VII or not, that's now a remake where it's completely like it feels like it's a game made now. If you saw that, it doesn't feel like the old game. It feels like a game made now. Yeah, it's all over the place. It's very exciting, but at the same time, man, dude, that is a lot to bite off. I mean, because I would almost be like, either we're just remastering this and that's it, graphics and textures, or
especially if it's EA.
But if I was the producer, I mean, I would be there and I'd be in a discussion saying we cannot half-ass this. We either have to be like, it is just a remaster, or let's just go through each one with fine-tooth comb and fix every little issue, because the first one had issues. So did the second one, with animations being played weird, with little pops in the cutscenes, little issues here and there, little audio issues. There was a fiction where they randomly changed how all guns worked in number 2, and they just put a tutorial box. They were like, yeah, guns are now based on heat or whatever they did, where the first one had reloads, right?
Or whatever. Yeah.
Admittedly, I'm more of a fan of reloads than I am of the heat system. But regardless, if you're going to start messing with shit, I would be like, how do we explain this in the fiction? Do we have, what do we do? Like, that's a lot. If I was a producer of that, I'd be pretty nervous. There's a lot to do in that.
Yeah, but you're right. It's either one end of the spectrum or the other. You can't go halfway on that. So
you would not want to on that game, I don't think.
Yeah, we'll see, but that's the rumor right now.
I have a question for you. Do you think Andromeda will be ignored, like Origins? They will just pretend or Andromeda does not exist, and will remaster the 3 and then just move on?
Would you get what I'm saying if I told you not because it's bad or poorly received, but because of what it did with the fiction?
Yes. That's what I'm actually meaning, yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't... I think EA would find a way to make themselves proud of it, regardless, if they wanted to make it work. I think it's just that it's so off to the side. It is literally a separate galaxy. I think when they came up with the idea of the game, if just 2020 hindsight, and maybe this just plays out well because of how the game ended up, really, but it's almost like they separated it intentionally. Hey, like no shepherd, no past companions, nothing. Like this has to be its own thing, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's over. That's it. It's done. And it didn't work. They put it on ice, and it would make sense for them to come back strong with like the Mass Effect and love in a trilogy. Whether it is just here it is the same as you remember, or here it is we fixed everything. Yeah, that's a good question. I think that they're just gonna ultimately pretend that Andromeda doesn't exist. And like I said, I want to specify for those listening, I think it's not because the game's bad, but because it's just so separate from their vision probably now with Mass Effect. I doubt they come back and say, let's do Andromeda again when they decide to make a brand new Mass Effect. That's how I look at it. At least Origins, though, that doesn't make sense because that literally was like, hey, here's the origin story of the, do I want to spoil it? Black Mask, Batman, what's going on with them, how that turns out. Like, that was an origin story. I feel like that was important. I feel like it helped build some characters. I guess they don't, though.
It is the red-headed stepchild of games. It is sad, man. It is so
really
sad.
It really is. And I know, like, I'm guilty of overhyping the Deathstroke boss fight, but I think there was so much more to that game than that one moment that I think a lot of people jumped to. It was just I think they did a really good job with the investigations. I think that was one of the strongest points of the game. Like they actually sharpened a lot of things that Rocksteady left to the wayside, and I think people could find something to appreciate in that. I just don't get why. It's always got to be 3 games. Can't be 4, right?
But no, exactly. No, I swear to God, that is it. That is exactly what happens. It's when you look, it's like always 3, and the 4th one always has an issue, or it's the 3rd one has an issue and the 4th one's fine.
Yeah. Oh well. All right, let's get into Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then we'll talk about Xbox. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla got revealed. This is the latest entry in the franchise. It took a year off last year. So the last time we played Assassin's Creed was with Odyssey in 2018. Valhalla, you play as Eivor. It takes place during 9th century England, or I'm sorry, it takes place in 9th century England. You're a Viking, and the kingdoms of England are fragile. They're warring, and there's a settlement system that's core to this. It sounds a lot like, I mean, there's RPG mechanics, there's apparently visceral gameplay, there's these humongous, like, large-scale battles. There's so much to it that we'll try to comb through, but just generally speaking, when it comes to the reveal, a new Assassin's Creed game, it's Viking-based like it had been rumored for a while. 9th century England. Karak, does any of this speak to you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they got caught sort of hyping it up because they've even corrected themselves when they were like, it's a first of its kind base system, which is not true. They've had bases in multiple Assassin's Creed games. So then they sort of corrected, and later they did an interview, and then they did some tweets, and they're like, what we meant was, it's not like the train and Syndicate. It's not like the headquarters in 2, I think. Was when they first.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Homestead right away. Not even.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that weird? They've had it in a couple games, and they were in this one. They were sort of like, this is new. And it's like, not necessarily.
Right.
But to me, the idea of shields being back is awesome. So I didn't miss them in Odyssey, but I get why people did. So now you can dual wield. You can dual wield 2 shields, which sounds fucking awesome.
This is why I love games, man. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that'll be me. Like a small shield and a big shield, and just be like,
just beating heads in. Why not?
Oh, dude, it could be so fun. And somebody, if there's going to be somebody doing something as dumb as possible. Like, they'll find a way to like dual wield the dumbest shit.
A shield build.
Yeah, a shield build. Can you imagine that? So there's that. There was a rumor, and you can certainly tell me if this is true. Abzi, who had actually was on the podcast once when you were sick, Abzi had stated he had heard or read that there was a mercenary / pawn system almost identical to Dragon's Dogma, which includes.
Yeah, that's confirmed. Yeah.
Is it? Because I went and looked at their official stuff, and they never say it. Somebody else added in, it sounds like this, and then other people jumped on that, but it was a normal Twitch user or Twitter user. It was not Ubisoft. Have you seen?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I found it on the official website. It says, I'm sure if you go and look now, on Assassin'sCreed.com, it'll say share your Viking online. It's exactly how you described. I couldn't think of the name during my video, but it's the pawn system in Dragon's Dogma to a T. You literally lend out your character, I guess, or a mercenary you create that friends can use online in raids, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's exactly like what Dragon's Dogma did. It doesn't get in the way. It's a shared kind of interactive element, but you don't need it. And I think that's a good way to handle it. So it's still, for those who are worried, it's still a single player game. But the rumor before that was it was co-op, which I was kind of confused by, because when I heard that, I was like, dude, wait, hold on. Because after Unity, I feel like Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft has avoided doing literally anything that Unity had. Like, they don't highlight big crowds anymore. They don't highlight co-op elements anymore. I think they did give the game away for free about a couple of weeks ago or a month or two ago. So they did that at least, and I think it's worth playing. I did enjoy my time with it because it was completely bug free, which was weird. But the Assassin's Creed franchise is staying single player, which is good.
Yeah, the pawn system, if anybody hasn't played Dragon's Dogma, is one of my favorite things because it is baby co-op. It's weird because like the character plays like you play. So I can tell on whose pawn I have just by how they act and how they play. And I think that's great. So that's awesome that is confirmed. I had not seen that. So that's fantastic. So I'm really excited for that. The rest of the stuff, I saw people like who were already worried about like, will it have powers? Because Odin was shown, blah, blah, blah. I got to tell you, man, I just don't get excited or worried about a game until about 3 weeks prior. So follow me and you when we talked about Spider-Man. It took me almost a month prior before I started, like my excitement ramps.
I remember that.
And that's the same way I am with Concern now. So because we don't, it's a CGI trailer, man. We don't even have gameplay yet. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'll wait till the gameplay to really, does it look smooth, whatever, but we're still ways away. But I mean, everything I saw looked it looked cool. And there's only a couple places I would have really been happy with them going to, like, because everybody wants either feudal Japan, feudal China. My friend Silver, he had mentioned Aztecs, and I would have killed for that. I like that. To me, when he mentioned it, I was like, oh my God, that would be the coolest thing ever. Especially with blood sacrifices and sun gods, like you could do some crazy shit. So yeah, excited. I mean, I want to see the gameplay though before I really jump in.
Yeah, conceptually, and we always know, and we always don't want to assume, but we can at least trust in, based off past work. Ubisoft always creates pretty good worlds to explore. I think Odyssey was incredibly fun. I understand people's gripes. That was another one that I kind of define how I define the Outer Worlds now, where at launch everyone's like, yes. And then over time, you start to see people airing out their grievances with the game. And with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, some was with the writing. Some had issues with that first DLC, if I recall correctly. I forgot what that was all about. And I know some didn't like the abilities, the mythological elements. See, I like Norse mythology a lot more than like Greek mythology. So for me, man, like when I saw that hint in the trailer of you saw Odin, you saw the Raven, I was like, yes, please. Like, that's awesome. I love that. But I understand why some didn't like it. I also haven't played Odyssey's DLC. I know there's something about Atlantis in DLC.
It's the best DLC ever made. Like,
that's wild.
It is so good, Matty. Talk to Crazy Herb in your Discord.
I saw the pictures he posted. That's what almost made me do it, man. That looked so beautiful.
It's next level DLC. Like, we're talking game length, full story DLC. You should check it out.
I really want to. It's one of those that's always calling my name. It's what holds me back is, of course, now we know Valhalla is coming. Do I want an Assassin's Creed fix now?
Yeah, sure, right.
And satiate myself, or do I wait? I guess with what's going on around us, maybe this isn't as certain, but the rumor was it's supposed to come out September 23rd, I think is what I heard. So if it's coming out that soon and it actually sticks to that date, then I feel like I would be really hungry then, and I could really sink my teeth into everything that game has to offer. What's always, and I admit this bias entirely, that what's always exciting about Ubisoft games is we usually can rely on pretty early review copies from them. So it's kind of that additional, like, all right, cool. Like, I'm looking forward to really getting my hands on this and making a review for people. That always plays a factor, but really, I'm pumped that the Viking thing ended up being true. And it was, obviously we hear the concept, and the idea of a concept is to create an image in your head of what something could be. And I'm glad that the things I imagine in my head were captured in CGI trailers. I'm not a fan of CGI trailers. I think most people who watch me are pretty aware of that. I make it pretty well known. But this is one that I was like, I wasn't like hyped. I was like, okay, like this, I'm excited. I want to see more. And usually I'm left feeling kind of deflated after CGI. So that to me was a pretty big step forward. And it shows that what they're doing is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
when it comes to the gameplay, sorry.
Good. Oh, I was just gonna say everything looked. I mean, it looks super interesting to me. We'll just have to see, but I don't see how they would. Dude, I said this in your Discord. Even if you dislike, let's say Unity, like me, because I had a lot of bugs, but more bugs than like story being an issue. Has Assassin's Creed really made a bad game that wasn't the 2D shit games they made? Like, they haven't really made a tangible bad game, and that's what excites me. It
always speaks to someone, right?
What'd you say?
Like, it always speaks to someone, right? Like, there's always an Assassin's Creed that speaks to
someone.
Yeah,
and their quality is always at this, let's say, if you do a number scale, even the poor ones are in the 7.5 or 8. And so for such big games, for so many titles being released, even Liberation, like the smaller, I posted in your Discord Freedom Cry, which was like its own, which didn't get the greatest reviews, but it's still in that 7.5, 8. So to me, usually their games are good or excellent. And that's exciting.
Yeah. And obviously Odyssey, at least for me, kind of ranked in more of that very good to excellent area because I am in love with RPGs. People know that as well about me.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
But it's funny when you say that you take that bird's eye view that Assassin's Creed as a whole has been pretty consistent. I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments who are like, well, hold on, what about this? What about this? And I get that. Like Assassin's Creed 3, right? You could poke a hole right in it and go, hey, it's not until chapter 6 the game starts, and that's like 10 hours of gameplay. And I completely get that. But for me, I've always said that once you become an assassin in Assassin's Creed 3, like, it's one of my favorites. It's the homestead. I love the setting. I adore that setting. When it comes to the main story and stuff, I'm not as keen on it. But as an Assassin's Creed game and a collectathon, I adore Assassin's Creed 3. 2 is special for people for a number of reasons. You know, we got to look at like what I think it was Brotherhood that introduced multiplayer. Like they're always tinkering with different things, man. So, you know, when you look at it, that's kind of what defined the series is its variety. But I think the annual releases killed it for a while, which is why, you know, when I realized yesterday I was genuinely excited for Assassin's Creed, I think a lot of it was because they give us time to miss it. And I think because we've had time to miss it, people realize how good it is, you know, and or what it can offer that other series can't, which is like very awesome depictions of horror by accident, historical settings, now with some mythological elements, and I can get behind that, man. I love nothing more than being in a really interesting open world and having quests to do, and especially if they take the choices more seriously, which they seem to be doing, compared to Odyssey, where there were, I put this in quotes, choices, and there were just a couple major ones. That would make me over the moon about this game, because it seems like the settlement's a pretty big part of those choices from what I read.
I hope they do the cultist page, because in Odyssey, one of the greatest things was the cultists. I was playing, I can't remember what game it was. It was another Ubisoft game. What was I playing? Shit. I was streaming it in our Discord. I can't remember what it was, but somebody was laughing, saying
a lot of Wildlands.
Oh, thank you. It was the other one. It was Breaking Point.
Gotcha.
One of the things somebody brought up while I was playing Breaking Point was that one of the things they like about Ubisoft is they've gone more and more towards soft quest markers now, where they're like you can get hints, like there's something to the south instead of boom. Now you can do boom if you want, but if you don't, you can turn discovery mode on, and it's more about, well, discovering things. And
yeah, I forgot they did that.
Yeah. And dude, I'm telling you, that's how I played Primal, even though it didn't have discovery mode. Once I got understood what happened, I turned those HUD elements off. And it does help a game if you already like it, I guess, is what I would say. If you like the world anyway, and you're fairly happy with whatever. So, I mean, other than Far Cry having a couple misses, I think Assassin's Creed is one of the longest series that I've seen where they've had genuinely good games. I looked up Metacritic, and it's like they're all 7.5 or above, and most are in the 8s or above. So they have a very good history.
Yeah.
Regardless if I like them all.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you, like I said, to tack on to what I was mentioning about the variety, I mean, in 3, it was just a little mini game to have the ship, and then 4 is like, what if we built a whole world around this thing, man? And you just start trekking through islands and collecting treasure, and you start living out this pirate fantasy. Like I said, I think for everyone, a lot of these games didn't hit, but the key aspect is that everyone has an Assassin's Creed game, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can call back to one and go like, yeah, that was mine. You know, that was the one that really hit the nail on the head. And so future entries are interesting. What can this do for me and what angle is it taking? I think you have the same approach. I approach Assassin's Creed as like, you know, where are you going to take me? Right. It's not like, are you going to bring Ezio back? You know,
no.
Yeah. It's like,
not,
you know,
not
it's
all.
just, where are you taking me? And are you
what
focusing
are you offering
on modern
today?
day? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, what's today special on the menu? So that's how I approach it. And I'm very excited for Valhalla, at least conceptually.
Yeah, very much.
When it comes to gameplay, though, let's move on to our next segment. We can keep on with Assassin's Creed a little bit here. So Xbox is having an event as well. This doesn't seem to be a part of the Summer Games Fest, by the way.
Right.
This seems entirely separate, but Xbox Series X is hosting an event for a first look at next-gen gameplay on Thursday, May 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or I'm sorry, 8 a.m. I wrote 8 p.m. on the notes here, but it's 8 a.m. I think Pacific time, actually, and then 11 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, this event is happening. A lot of people were excited because immediately I was like, give me Fable 4. A lot of people were like, oh my god, Halo, as you had mentioned earlier. But I think that's going to be deeper into the summer because some members of Xbox were quoting the tweet saying, hey, our first-party studios are still working hard and we'll have something for you midsummer. And Xbox started to shift their marketing focus on of this event, saying this is third-party stuff. And Ubisoft had stated Assassin's Creed will be one of the games shown off here. But that was pretty much it. So we got a new event coming just in a week. Are you excited for this? I imagine we're going to see like Cyberpunk probably, right?
That's what I was wondering. If they show Cyberpunk, are they clipping the wings of, the event that's now been announced? Because they do separate deals for everything. But it'll be if Microsoft gets Cyberpunk at their event, that's a pretty big get, even if in the summer of games they show that as well. Like, that's if Microsoft gets that. And Microsoft and CD Projekt Red seem to, I don't know what the term would be, not in bed, but they definitely seem to sort of be in the same, they're sort of in lockstep with each other. So I could definitely see that showing up there. Dude, do you know what would be crazier? I mean, they said third party. I mean, imagine WB showing something at Microsoft's event. See, the reason why I bring these up is because it seems to me Microsoft is like, we are all in this gen.
Mm-hmm.
We're all like, I mean, Phil Spencer was like, we don't give a shit what the box looks like. We care what it performs like, and we'll worry about what it looks like later, which is why you got what looks like a fire log as your box, right?
Yeah.
But they were and then him saying like first parties, and like you said, I didn't know this, but other people saying, first party studios are still working, and him bringing it up, I could see them just being like, we've got some crap coming your way, and load it up, which would be very cool. It would be very cool to see Microsoft come out gunning, because then it means everybody else has to. Yeah, and that's sort of what I want.
I saw Jason Schreier, formerly of Kotaku, saying how in a couple of weeks as well, PlayStation's going to do an event.
Correct.
Too.
Yeah.
So it's coming to a head here. They're both coming out swinging. Looks like Microsoft, as they, I'm not trying to throw shade, but as they have been, they are making the first move. What's cool about Assassin's Creed, just staying on that for a bit longer here between the gameplay, and I think why it seems like they're closer, is because Valhalla will be also supporting like Cyberpunk, the smart delivery program for Series X. For those who are unaware, this is the system for the Series X where you can buy the game for the Xbox One, play it, and then not have to buy a whole separate game for your new system. You just put that same disc in, and it will patch and upgrade and look much better. I'm currently looking for the tweet that had mentioned, so we could get the exact verbiage of what's going on with the first party studios. But when it comes to them, what do you want to see for those first party studios deeper into the summer?
Fable. Yeah, I would like to say. I mean, Fable. Yeah, I mean, Playground Studios is the ones who are doing it, and they have shown, like, I mean, Forza is not connected to Fable, obviously, but the graphics engine, how they've done things, obviously have worked quite well for like landscapes. And I think everybody's sort of expecting one major IP from Microsoft, and I do believe that Fable and Halo are sort of equal now, most likely because Fable has had long enough for people to forget how poor 2 and 3 were. Sorry, I just wasn't as big of a fan. Okay, I'll just say 1 I loved, and then they went down from there. We'll just say it that way. Right?
No, I respect your opinion. I was surprised. I usually hear 2 is like the 2 or 1.
Yeah, I just really liked the freshness of 1 for some reason. It was just new at the time, and 2 did increase. 3, by the way, was just a Vaseline filter. That was just an ugly game. But so it's been a while, right? But then Halo has been more recent, but not done the greatest. I mean, it hasn't really, it's sort of, I would say Halo's not tarnished, but it's a little dropped down. So to me, Fable's the bigger of the 2. And I legit mean that. I mean, Halo can do wonders, but if Fable knocks it out of the, like, if it looks like Sea of Thieves, but cranked up, as I mean that cartoonish look, because Sea of Thieves does look a little bit like a really modified Fable. And so, like, if you've got a game that's that colorful and you see this character walk out and people are like, this is the game world, that's a huge, huge get for Microsoft. Additionally, All Microsoft has to say is look at our game. Guess what? It's day one on Game Pass. And there is something that right now Microsoft is just, it's really hard to, I mean, every game that they announce, I just look at it and go, well, if I don't want to spend 60, it's probably going to be on Game Pass. Like, it's weird. So if they show some quality, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to pass up.
Yeah, but I had heard for Xbox, because you'd mentioned like, oh, Sea of Thieves sort of has that similar look that a Fable could have, and I had personally heard that Xbox is like sharing a lot of tech across their studios, which isn't a foreign concept, by the way. I don't think this is like some type of inside scoop. I was told this, but I'm saying it's not some type of like crazy idea. PlayStation does it. We saw them do it with the Decima engine. Yeah, we saw them do that between Death Stranding and Horizon Zero Dawn. I did find the tweet, by the way. It's from Aaron Greenberg, who's GM Xbox Games Marketing at Microsoft. Let's see here. He says, so pumped to see our partners showing us a first look at Xbox Series X gameplay next week. Also, know the Xbox Game Studios teams are hard at work on some big summer plans. More details soon. I said soon. Soon. So yeah, sometime during the summer, we're going to see those other teams. I know a lot is up in the air with this event. Apparently, this was supposed to happen in, I heard April, and then it got pushed back into May. And then originally it was going to be one big event, and then it got split into two. And then I also heard like, oh, they're going to throw an Xbox first party game in this coming event as a surprise at the end, like maybe a Halo. I don't know. That's just my guess. But then like, you know, you got these two separate events where that might not be the case. Apparently, just a lot's up in the air. Because of what's going on around us, where they can't just have a for sure, a certainty other than like it's happening, it's going to be third party, but do we throw in this one first party that is ready to be shown now, or do we wait a little bit longer until June or July?
You know what else has happened, Matty? It just dawned on me. So I don't know about you. How long have you been doing your YouTube channel? When
in total?
Yeah. When did you start? What year? Do you remember?
I think if you look at my channel, it should say 2010.
And was that your first E3? No, so it would have been 2011 for your first E3 because of when it happens, right? So 2011 would have probably
like
been
that I covered.
Yeah, or that you like really. Yeah,
I mean, I watched E3. I want to say before that. Yeah, I watched E3. You know, the thing is I didn't do what I do with E3 now, or have rather, where I would sit down, watch it. I would just let it happen because I didn't have any like serious career obligations. I'd just like watch what was on my YouTube feed afterwards. I'd go to my subscription box and just watch trailers.
So you, the reason why I was bringing it up is I would say since even then, I personally believe Sony has always portrayed themselves as a little bit more eclectic and highfalutin than Microsoft, who has always posed themselves as corporate. They've had the occasional guy with the hoodie come out and try to be street. But overall, Microsoft has always had the guy doing the speech. And sometimes Sony's had that, but Sony's had their Jack Trentons who are very good at glib and they're very artistic. What I do believe is that the virus has caused an even ground. Microsoft did their last event where Phil Spencer talked on the world's crappiest microphone. And it was not lying. That was the world's crappiest microphone. I've never heard a mic. Did you hear him?
No, I don't know what
you're
referring to.
You need to go back. Yeah, they did their event where they showed a couple games, and it's like he's talking over here. Like you're just sitting there going, "This is the head of Microsoft." So, but here's the thing that helps them even keel. I do believe that Microsoft probably has an issue right now where they're trying to figure out: do we try to do a big event where it's all high, it looks great, and it's corporate, and everything is at its best, or do we do the Phil Spencer at his house talking with the bad lighting and stuff? And I do believe that there might be, if there's two, we may see a subtle thing where they sort of do one that's like, hey, we're at home like you, and then they do another that's sort of more professional and business-like. But one thing that's happened with this, with everybody being stuck at home, is they're all sort of able to get away with looking like crap. Like Phil showed up, he looked tired. And I think that actually helps Microsoft, because if you track back 10 years ago, everybody would always say it. Microsoft doesn't know they don't know the street. They don't know gamers. They don't know how to, where like Sony always had that. I think that there's this weird thing now where, for example, Mark Cerny, when he was talking about PS5 with his fake audience, and you were just sitting there going, what is this? Like, who's this guy talking to?
This is bad funny.
Yeah, and he's like, let me tell you about the SSD that, he sounded like a fucking evil scientist, and everything was very presented. And then Microsoft does the at-home thing. So it'll be very interesting to see how they both portray themselves to the consumer, because the consumer's attitude is going to matter going into this.
I think it's so easy to call that Sony's going to try something kind of similar to like the fake audience thing.
Remember last year, Matty, when they had the fucking cello and shit wasn't going right and lights were turning, it just was a disaster.
There's just an elegance to them that they try to strike every time. And it's like, dude, just come out and talk about your games. Like,
right. Like, so I think that's going to be interesting.
I was just gonna say, Nintendo's a great example of their highest members of Nintendo will come out on screen and it'll just be a plain white background. Obviously they're in like a studio, but it's just a white background. I could literally drape like a towel behind me and it would create the same thing.
It's so true.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't get this need for. Obviously, there is a sense of professionalism, but like you don't gotta. We're playing games, man. You don't gotta go crazy with it.
I think they're both going to be. I think it helps Microsoft in particular because it sort of evens them both out in a way where it's like now they can look human. Yeah. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying they can look that way.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the PlayStation side of things, we've got a drippy faucet. The Last of Us Part 2 is almost in its entirety leaked. Major plot points. Certain aspects of the story, I saw most of them. We won't be spoiling them today. I didn't watch any gameplay because although I read what happened on paper, I am a believer of like, okay, I still want to see it play out. And I channeled a little bit of my Karak where, sometimes you're like, dude, give me the spoiler. You're like, I want to play this game back to front.
Right.
Let's do this. I was like, all right, now I have an opportunity to do that. Even if I didn't want to, it just, like I said, man, like it got spoiled in a heartbeat. There was like no avoiding that. It was everywhere. So first question for you before we get into your thoughts on the leak, Karak, is did you get spoiled?
Yeah, I checked out everything.
Okay. So no one did it for you? You did it yourself?
No, dude, I don't think I just don't think I've been spoiled on anything, or if I don't pick it up, but that rarely happens because I heard some horror stories about like DMs in Reddit where somebody was like in Reddit and got a random DM, clicked it, and it was like, the end result of the story in some game. And no, I've been lucky. I actively searched for it.
Okay. So with that in mind, what is your general response to what's transpired? We've seen that at first the reports were it was a disgruntled Naughty Dog employee. Now that's not the case. It turns out it's multiple individuals who are completely outside of Naughty Dog and Sony. Was this a product from working at home? But just general thoughts, I guess, on the situation and how it's developed.
I would assume that first of all, there won't be much from this particular game that will surprise me for like the behind the scenes and any decisions they make. I do think in the future we're going to unfortunately have even more of a crunch on Sony when it comes to NDAs. Sony's already by far, when you look at their NDAs, geez, man, dude, their NDAs are like a puzzle from Broken Sword, the point and click game. Trying to figure out what you can and can't show will bust your nuts. You'll be like, okay, level 3, part 1, but I can't show this character ever or mention them. So I do think that you and I will be impacted by that kind of stuff. A huge crunch down. In fact,
in my video.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Yeah. Cause I'm actually under the belief that normal YouTubers will see a dearth on any big games of like codes where it'll be like, you have to have 3 letters in your name and you have to they'll be IGN to be getting any kind of code. Otherwise they might do events even where they're like from now on. But production, so we know that these games are sent to production, they get burned. And this has happened before. We've had games that have leaked before or been sold. Copies have been sold from the production units, but I don't really care. It sucks for the company though. It sucks for anybody who worked on the game, who wanted their story to not be spoiled. I mean, that's a shitter. If I was a novelist, that'd be a shitter. If I was a YouTuber making a video review and somebody spoiled the score, that's a shitter. So it sucks. If I was a company employee there, I would hate it.
Yeah, that's the thing is a lot of people have, I think, had trouble lending their hearts just because they're very disappointed with what's happening with the story, which once again, we won't be spoiling for those listening, so you don't have to worry. But a lot of people are so like just horribly disappointed with what's going on that
they let it boil into the business part.
Yeah, like they're like I'm not telling anyone, by the way, that they need to feel sympathy. By the way, I just want to make that painfully obvious, because I understand why some don't, because Naughty Dog has their reputation's gone kind of down the tubes this last number of months between crunch reports and some story decisions. It quickly went downhill from there. Certain staff members as well. Yeah, man, but it has just been. Life comes at you fast, I guess is the best way to put it. The leaks happened, and just like that, everyone was on top of Naughty Dog, just not a fan of what was happening. Some even saying like it saved them money. Like they feel as like fans, they were disrespected. I haven't sought out this aspect, so maybe you can confirm this for me. Is it beginning to end, everything out there?
Is it beginning to end? Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you mean the content?
Beginning?
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, because like I had heard people saying afterwards, like, "Oh, the ending's actually not out there." Like that's at the I think a third through the game.
So that could be true, because you don't. Mm-hmm. That could be true, but what is shown looks like an ending. Does that make sense? So that is possible. That is possible.
Yeah. The interesting part of all of this is there was a debug menu in the gameplay, apparently.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that meant it had to be from a developer's unit. It couldn't be like you mentioned a street copy. Like no one could have just bought it or whatever. So that's where I start to spin my wheels. I'm like, did someone like break into Naughty Dog and take it? Was it someone's house broken into? Like what?
Well, no, that can still be the production company. The production company can still get a version of that, and then they basically you know how WinZip works, WinRAR.
Yeah.
A zip program. They absolutely can get one with that and then put it together where they are. It just there's so many places where that could have gone to. A tester, external. I told you I was testing a game that didn't get released. An external tester could have had that. There's so many ways that, because dude, I've tested games a full year before they've released. Not recently, because I don't do it as much since I review, but prior to that. There was, testing games. Watch Dogs 1 in particular, I tested a year. It was probably a year prior to it ever even coming out, That
must have been nice. That was the Watch Dogs everyone was pumped for.
Yeah. It was, and you're testing it for weird shit like connectivity or something, like it's never really testing it from start to finish. That those cutscenes and stuff, they got leaked. It definitely had a dev menu, which is probably how they figured out who it was, by looking at which version out there has that menu, and then anybody after that, you're like, it's definitely not them, and they're zeroing in. Dude, I would never do that kind of shit, because you have no clue if they watermark the game too. Is there a flash for a quarter of a second that's like, that states the IP address of where you are? Like, you have no clue. So I've always considered those people crazy as to try to leak that stuff. But I will say this. I think it takes a next level amoral person, though, to try to pretend that because they don't like the story in the game, it's okay to celebrate the leak of the game. Because that doesn't make any sense. That would be like I don't basically go and remove the brakes from everybody else's car if my brakes don't work. That's completely idiotic. Like, you have to be a sociopath to believe that. So I've seen people celebrate this because they didn't like the story. To me, I don't know what to say. That is borderline creepy to me. And I'm not an emotional person, but even I'm like, that's borderline creepy. Like that kind of person is not somebody I'd trust with my kids. That is very weird to think that. But to be disappointed, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you don't like the story, it sucks. Not much to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say the separation of the product, right? That's what we always talk about.
And one person versus 400. What if 400 people are working on it but one person made the choice for the story? Am I going to blame Joe Bob who fucking just figured out how to get a button to work in a game? No. Like, and I'm not going to celebrate his demise either.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think, I don't know anyone personally at Naughty Dog, so there's only so much I can say, but it's also on the other end of the spectrum, one person making a choice to leak the whole game so everyone could suffer. That's also just, man, that's what boggles my mind. Like, someone got so caught up in whatever was going on. They're like, yep, all your years of hard work, everything you did for this game, yep, it's out there. No one's got to pay for it. They can just go look and boom, we'll see what they think now. That's why the action itself is so drastic. It does seem vengeful, which is why the narrative of a disgruntled employee kind of sounded believable at first. But it might have just been someone saying like, "Hey, check out the game."
Well, and a lot of people just don't like anything that has to do with homosexuality, and we know that that's a part of the game. Like, they just absolutely don't. I mean, that's like, whatever, you have your own personal beliefs, and people can get really vengeful about all that stuff. They can get vengeful about a woman being the lead. I saw people absolutely hate me for liking Horizon Zero Dawn. Hate me. Patrons were just dead set against Tomb Raider. Absolutely could not believe Tomb Raider had a female lead. So I don't know, man. And I'm like, Tomb Raider, dude, she was a female lead before you were born. You weren't swimming in your daddy's nuts. And that was, it was already Tomb Raider, right? So, whatever. Like, I don't really want to guess why people are mad or not mad. I will just say that personally, to me, if you spoiled somebody's stuff by like DMing them or that's just a jackass thing to do. And I saw a lot of people having that.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's more of the thing of like, if you don't like it, that's one thing, but going out there and personally spoiling it is
that was
childish.
The one thing that did genuinely bug me out of all this was I would see on Twitter someone saying in a thread like, yeah, I'm avoiding spoilers because, I do want to play it for myself, but what's happening, I really hope it's not as bad as people say it is. And then someone will respond and be like, like, boom, there it is. Like, there's a little synopsis of every major event that happened. And it's just like, dude, like, why do that to someone? Let them, it's their money. You don't choose where they want to spend it, what they want. It's their time. You don't choose what they want to play. Like, that's not how it works. And that, if people want to crack like memes and stuff, like I get that. Like I'd expect that rather, but someone just saying like, yeah, I'm waiting. And they're like, yep, I found you. And guess what? You're getting the game spoiled because I say so. Fuck that shit.
You know how many people I get mad at me because they can't spoil me? It's pretty weird how aggressive people get. They're like, what do you mean? You don't care if you're spoiled. And I'm like, I don't care. And they actually get mad. They wanted to spoil it. They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I mean, there's more things to worry about. I will say that regardless of all this, unfortunately, it's just going to hurt everybody. Like I said, you'll get reviewers. I'm sure we'll see a lockdown because Sony's already locked down.
Yeah.
We're going to see a huge lockdown. Did you do Final Fantasy Did you get a Square Enix code?
Yes.
Did you see their weird ass NDA about like if you were reviewing it prior to its release, you had to put ad? Did you see that?
Yep, we all had to change our titles.
Is that not? Oh, yeah, okay. I couldn't remember. That was the weirdest, most aggressive thing I've ever. Other YouTubers were emailing me going like, "Did you just get an email saying you had to put this in front of your like? That makes no sense."
Yeah,
and then
kind of like it watered down the value of the review because everyone thought we were like paid to do it. They were like, ad. Like, why do you got to put that in your title?
And you were able to switch it back once it was out, which was the weirdest thing. They were like, after this date, you can then just put sponsored, which is the normal thing. It was so broken, but that's what Sony's going to start doing. Sony will, you are going to see them like start, you barely anybody will get it. And there's going to be all kinds of claims on stuff. It's unfortunate because it's going to hurt future games.
Yep. 100% because of the size of this game. It's not a small release even at this point in the game.
When are we getting it? Have we got any word?
June 19th. That's coming out. At the same time, they also confirmed Ghost of Tsushima's, I think, July 17th.
You excited for Ghost?
Yeah, I'm still more excited for The Last of Us just because I had said, I've played a lot of ninja games, Japan games, like whether it's something crazy like Persona or, of course, more relatable would be Neo, Sekiro, because I gave that a second try earlier this year. I've played like a lot of Japanese-inspired games where, believe it or not, I know a lot of people would brand The Last of Us as this generic post-apocalyptic thing, which I get. It's just that from what I've played recently, that's actually a very refreshing-looking game. It's like, I haven't played something like that in a while outside of Fallout. And Fallout I've dabbled in for about 4 or 5 years straight now. So, what's the difference? So yeah, that's why I'm more excited for The Last of Us. Otherwise, I'm sure I'd be all in on Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost.
Do you know why that game?
Do you know why I think I am, dude? Is because what they did that Second Son, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but those guys know their action. And,
Sure.
You and I talked about, I know you weren't in love with Sekiro. I can't remember if you ended up at the end loving or disliking or liking Neo, or Neo 2. But the thing is that those guys are doing a Japanese-inspired, samurai-inspired game from those guys who know their action in a more flicky sense than Sekiro. So to me, that's pretty cool because that might get some people. It looks like it could be a mini Sekiro. Or a mini Neo, where it's like it's a little harder, but it's not so hard and so slow, and everybody's moving in molasses that it could get a lot of people to jump into the genre, which could be
it's
cool.
Probably also a lot more open. But I have, the thing is because it's Sucker Punch, I think people are glazing over it. But it definitely, from when we look at the same pattern that happened with Days Gone and the way they're approaching Ghost of Tsushima. I'm sorry, but I don't have a lot of confidence in that game right now just because they are really quiet on it. And
you mean Sony themselves?
Yeah, in general. They've provided release date updates, but I think the last time we heard something was February or beginning of March. Nothing since, and the game's coming out in 2 months. It just kind of have we seen the game actually in motion? Full gameplay since its E3 reveal at 2018. We really haven't. So that's, you combine that, how close we're getting to launch, it screams to me the lack of confidence that we saw similar to Days Gone. We'll see, though. I could be wrong because I think that Sucker Punch is a very, not that Sony Bend isn't, but I think Sucker Punch is very capable. But it's been 6 years since they launched the game as well. So this game, they had some trouble putting this together. There was no coincidence that they were gone for so long. So that's kind of where I sit on it. In more positive news, Battlefront is back, Karak. You pointed me in the direction of this news, and so would you like to just go through it?
Yeah, I don't have it brought. Oh, well, no, I do. Hang on. Are we talking about Battlefront Classic, the weird thing I sent you?
Of course.
Of
course.
All right, so yeah, this is short. This is just actually on Steam's website, but it basically, I don't understand why Star Wars Battlefront, which by the way is only $4.99 on Steam, is now got online multiplayer. It's been added to the game. We also made the following changes: French, Italian, German, Spanish language support are added, additional audio support, which I just now am seeing, and addressed a number of menu and gameplay issues for a number of different screen sizes, which I do remember might be your 16:9 and your 21, whatever your ultra wide is. But yeah, so they basically went back and added online into the Steam version of a game that is how many years old? Ancient years old?
I think that's 2004. I want to say 2004, 2005. I think 2005.
It's insane. It was such a weird thing to see in my news.
Yeah, man. And it reminds me of what they did with KOTOR 2, where I remember, I think it was 2014. I woke up one day and they were like, we added achievements, we added widescreen support, we added controller support, we added all mods. You could do everything to KOTOR 2 now. And I'm like, number one, why just 2, right? And the same question's happening here. Why is just Battlefront 1 getting this? Just something with these older Battlefront games, they just touch them up. I think the timing, though, is interesting because we did just get the release last month of Jedi Knight Jedi Academy on PS4. Back in, I want to say, December was Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast 2.
Absolutely
on the PS4.
Correct, yeah.
And so I would not be surprised if now that the support for Battlefront 2, and by support I mean brand new content, new skins, maps, modes, being added to Battlefront 2, the current one, is done, that they may be looking into some type of re-release with this game on modern consoles. And I think the first step is activating that multiplayer. It could also not be that deep. It could very well be a KOTOR 2 where they're like, hey, this game is a lot better now. Have fun. And that's it. They just leave it. And I don't know how it works rights-wise. I really don't.
All I know is it's weird to see games that old get like updated for online support, because that would mean they'd have to figure out a bunch of shit in behind the scenes. So yeah, it was just cool to see it. And yeah, exactly. Like, it's a cool little bonus. It's a $5 game. Maybe they did it all because of what's happening right now. And they were like, hey, people want to play Star Wars. They gave them Jedi Knight, like you said, or Jedi Academy, whichever one. Yeah, Jedi Academy.
Yep.
So
yeah,
did you see the video of the guy on the PC version hacking into the console version with his mouse and keyboard and ruining people in Academy? So you can hack into the console version very easily from the PC. They're literally, like, you can see the IP address from the console. So people were figuring out how to hack in with their PC version and mouse and keyboard against people with a game, and it was slaughter. It was a slaughter. There's a video of like 30 deaths to 0 where some dude just it was awesome. It was awesome. I don't know if they fixed it either, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch.
They now that I think about it, in 2017 with Battlefront 2, they had I think they had reactivated their servers or talked about taking them down, or did take them down, and I think like GameSpy stepped in and reactivated them. Something happened with Battlefront 2 where the multiplayer got a resurgence, and I remember going on it, and it was really disappointing. Like, it was laggy all over the place, did not work well at all. So I'm curious how this one. I'm gonna test it out. I don't own it for some reason on Steam. I don't know why, but now that they've updated it and it's $5, I'm like, all right, yeah, why not? Let's see how it is. I might even end up playing it on stream tonight, just seeing what's the haps with it, because I love the original Battlefront. I like Battlefront 2 a lot more, but Battlefront 1, a lot of people love the maps for that game. They feel like, from anyone I've talked to, whether it's one of my mods or one of my good friends, Rob, I hear them all the time go like, oh, I love Battlefront 1's maps, and people tend to agree with them. So that's available now if you guys are interested. It's a free update. Game is $5 only on Steam. And now, Karak, to the most extensive and best part of the show. We have our Patron questions. Who knows? This week I did a little test. I wanted to see who was thinking of us. I didn't tag anyone this time, so we'll see. And it says we have 13 new messages. Oh my! All right, where do we begin? Here we are. All right, our first question comes from Skooma Vendor. I thought, I got confused because we have our other podcast, BFGFAFK, with my girlfriend, and he had posted a question in there as well. And I was like, wait, he's not new. He already posted one over there, but that was much earlier in the week. So Scuba Vendor writes, hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller. We wish you guys could call in. That'd be cool. Over the lockdown, which has been running for over 4 weeks in the UK, I've had a lot of free time to start playing video games again. I was all ready to jump into Wastelanders when I ended up playing ESO with an old friend, and haven't really given much Fallout a thought. I guess it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, even though I tried really hard to persevere, I think he's trying to say, through its issues. Do you ever think that bad taste will ever truly go away for people, or will it always be there as a memory? I think forgiveness is the key here, yeah?
Yes, but to forgive, you have to remember what the problem was. And so I do believe, like, No Man's... Well, sorry, but No Man's Sky...
You're right, dude.
No Man's Sky, I say, is awesome because it wasn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, every time we talk about No Man's Sky, I always say, man, they've done a ton because a ton wasn't done when it first got released. So
yeah.
In a weird way, I do believe people will move on if they continue to support it. You sound like you're actually liking the new content. A couple people I've talked to seem to like it. If they continue to do that, yes, but it will never be forgotten, because the next game they release, I can guarantee you people will say, remember Fallout 7? Like, it once it's stained, man, it's impossible. I mean, people have a long memory. It'll be a long time before people forget that.
Yeah, exactly that. I think you put it perfectly. There's no better way to put it. You know, with 76, the reason I'm saying I enjoy it now is because of Wastelanders. Without Wastelanders, and once you're done with Wastelanders, even the game, it doesn't have an end game. It's not very fun. You know, the base game still exists, and I don't enjoy grinding away in that game. So yeah, it's a perfect way of putting it. It's good. It's better and more enjoyable now because Wastelanders is there on top of the original game, which is not very good. So very well said. Holzer19 writes in, is there a game that according to everything you know about yourself that you actually shouldn't like but do?
Yeah. Yeah. You shouldn't like, right?
That,
He's
yeah,
saying
he says that according to everything you know about yourself, you shouldn't like but actually do. Like a game that conflicts with your desires, I guess.
Yeah, Life is Strange #1. The first entire series of that game. Dude, it's about 17-year-old girls in high school. What the like fuck do I know? I've Sims 4. Like but Sims 4 makes sense because you can, light people on fire. Life is Strange has none of that. And yeah, definitely for me.
I got two. One would be more relevant for listeners of the show. The other is just an idea that came to mind now when I was looking at my game shelf. The first is DBS. I've talked about the Dragon Ball Super card game a lot. I am against like a lot of in-game purchases. If your game is free, that's fine, but I'm not interested in buying additional stuff on top of the product. I've bought a lot of card packs. That very much conflicts with my everything I stand for. And it's a guilty pleasure. It's separate from gaming, and I think it's a great game, which is why I happily spend that money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely is something I shouldn't like doing. My friends, one of my friends, his guilty pleasure is mobile games, and he'll put a lot of time into them. And I always grill him for it as a joke, like, "Oh man, you're not really a gamer now, aren't you?" But he'll always bring up that I'm buying card packs. So am I true to my beliefs? So yeah, that's definitely one right there. The other one that comes to mind is Catherine. I'm not really into games with dating, like we talked about on the show. I think romance in games is weird often, but I think it's because that game has such a comedic edge to it. It's an incredibly funny game, and it's written so well, and there's so many endings and agency. And it becomes, I always say, it's not really a dating game once you actually sit down with it. It's a puzzle game with, I feel, social elements. But it is about this guy, Vincent, who's figuring out his love life. And that's where the choice comes in on how you spend your time, who you spend it with, who you ignore, whose phone calls you pick up, that type of stuff. And so there are dating elements. But that's definitely another type of game where I don't mind romance in games, right? Like we were just talking earlier about Mass Effect. I love Persona. That's got dating in it. But a game based around that concept usually is not one I'm like, yeah, I gotta play that. But Catherine's easily last year was Full Body was one of my favorite games I played, and I kind of regret not putting it in my top 5 for the year because it definitely should have been there. I replayed that game twice, and I want to play it a third time. I still think about it a lot. It's a hilarious game, but it's also just enjoyable to see how the story plays out. So I highly recommend that one if you can tolerate puzzles. But yeah, those are two games that conflict with me. All right, Ross says, "Hi guys, how are you? I have 3 questions for both of you. Number 1, this will be interesting to hear what your answer is. What's your dream Fallout mod or any game? It doesn't matter, so you can pick one or the other." My voice is cracked there. Mine is a Fallout New Vegas mod where you become the general of the Enclave, taking down each and every town and faction in the Mojave Wasteland. You recruit townspeople through different methods such as speech, skill, gun skill, etc. The game leads to a full-on assault on the Strip where you secure your position as the main faction of the area. Also would love to have the ability to customize towns, create bases, fly vertibirds, and blah, blah, blah. That's not me saying that. That's what he wrote. It basically would feel like a standalone game with all of the things I would personally dream of having added to it. So do you have, I know you said you've messed around with Fallout mods, but do you have a dream mod in mind? And if not, that's fine. He says, or any game, it doesn't matter.
I'm more towards the, does it sit I definitely have one. If there was a mod out there that could make random missions that felt like they were real missions, I would probably never play a different game. And I think that Skyrim tried, and you've got those missions from the bartenders who are like, go kill this guy. And they do an okay, passable job of giving you some stuff to do. I would definitely kill for that kind of thing. And there is a mod, I do have to mention it because there is a guy who tried this called the bulletin board mod for Skyrim, which gives you odd jobs, and they're actually pretty damn cool. There's some pretty cool ones randomly generated. I would love that because to me, that like to continue, I don't have a problem if it feels alive continually playing the same game. So I would love something like that.
I agree with that. For me, I know this is going to sound like a cop-out, but really I feel like Sky Oblivion was sort of my dream mod. I love Oblivion. It was kind of the open world RPG that pulled me into loving Bethesda Game Studios games. And, when I went back to it in 2018, I think it was for a review for that year, seeing how it had aged, I really liked it as a concept. The music, oh my God, is so good. I love... You could see for its time, it was clearly a very impressive game, but now playing it, it felt like a game with relying heavily on procedural generation. Reuse voice actors everywhere and actresses everywhere. Stuff that bogs down a game nowadays that back then was passable, and it was so big and revolutionary. So for me, like Sky Oblivion was my dream mod because I was like, man, like I'd love to see Bethesda take one of their older games and remake it in their current with their current technology. And modders are doing that with Oblivion, which is the game I would pick. I would pick that, and I would pick Morrowind, which they're doing with Skywind. So those would instantly be my two picks. I know you said Fallout, but for me, like when it comes to Fallout, I've tinkered with so many Fallout mods, and I think the creativity of modders is so impressive. I wouldn't even want to pitch some of my ideas. Like I would never pitch the idea of Fallout Dust. But Fallout Dust is easily my favorite New Vegas mod. I love the concept of it.
Yeah, they're very good with mods.
Exactly. Like, hey, let's just make New Vegas this incredibly difficult game, heavy survival focus, and what's happening is instead of exploring the map and doing new things, it's a totally different game. It's like NPCs are in different spots. Everyone's trying to kill you, and you're trying to escape. I was like, I love that concept. I never would have come up with that, and that definitely would have been like a mod that could be considered a dream mod. It's still my favorite. So yeah, man, I mean, there's ways you can like fanfic it up, but for me, I don't buy into those types of mods much because I appreciate the modders' hard work. I've talked about a number of mods on my channel, but it's hard for me to care deeply about the lore because I know it's not canon. So
yeah, that would definitely be an issue. If the lore is not canon, you're just like, it's not really affecting anything.
Which is why it brings me back to Sky Oblivion and Skywind, where it's like, okay, these are the same games, but in different technology. And if you're going to touch up dungeons and make those better where they're not as rinse and repeat, then dude, like that's exactly what I want. So a long answer to your question, but hopefully it's sufficient. Number 2, have you heard of the band Death Grips? I have not.
I have not.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm not good with music, so I apologize, Ross, but I have not. And 3, have you guys ever played a musical instrument? If not, what instrument interests you?
Guitar and drums I've played. Not well. In fact, I almost killed myself playing a guitar.
Really? Did you fall off the stage almost?
No, because I do nothing half-assed. So I sat and tried to fucking learn the guitar in like 4 fucking solid days and almost broke my back. It was horrid. I got a guitar and I'm like, this is the way I've done it. I've done it everything I've ever wanted to do is I'm just like, I dive in. And even my wife was like, dude, you look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame right now. Cause I'd be like, bent over playing it. By the time I was done, Maddie, I could play like 3 fucking chords. That was it. Right. And I was in such pain. I fucking destroyed my neck for like 2 weeks, and which they'll warn you is easy to do. But like I jumped into it really hard.
When I was younger, I tried the electric guitar. I thought that'd be kind of cool. My dad is very, very much musically inclined. He's a very talented drummer. So he was kind of like in on seeing if I was interested in any of that stuff. And I gave it a fair shake. I would always hit the drums like a dumbass. I didn't know how to play. But yeah, he would teach me that type of stuff. I messed around with the guitar for a little bit, but eventually I actually liked playing the piano. That was one that kind of came to me because I had long fingers, even when I was
I can
younger.
play the piano. I don't know why I didn't mention that. That's weird.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's weird.
Such a natural talent. It just didn't come to you.
That's odd. Yeah, piano is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure I couldn't play anything now, but I love the piano. If I were to actually pick one up, it would be, and this is not me trying to sound quirky and original, but genuinely, I saw Trans-Siberian Orchestra play live, and there's this guy who's in the middle with a electric violin, and he just, some of the things he played sounded so cool, and he had a style and flair to how he played it that I was like, man, that is an instrument I would love to learn how to play.
You have long fingers?
Yes, long fingers.
God damn it. I need to wash my hands before we do an event. I feel like I'm an antivirus discussion right now. People don't realize, man, you do need, that was tough when I was younger trying to do the piano. And even now when I make music, I have a keyboard, and with short stubby fucking clubbing fingers like I've got, it's much more difficult to do the piano.
Yeah, it makes sense. Vault 101 guy says it's been far too long since I posted, but I have a few questions. Number one, do you think Cyberpunk will live up to the hype? I don't think so.
I mean, whose? Like
the public's hype of it's going to be the best game ever.
Is that what people are saying? Yeah, see, I don't even follow that. There are so many people
selling it pretty high. Even freaking out when they saw the ratings board, which I understand it, I think it was like 18 plus or something like that. And it had everything from top to bottom that could be mature rated was in there. And I think someone from CD Projekt Red was like, we don't fuck around, and like even that caught traction, like something that just should not, I don't say it like, and people are going to think I'm jaded when I say it, but just something that shouldn't be in the news mill made it into the news mill.
Dude, no, that's not, what you're saying is not wrong. News. It's not news. That's thirst, man. That's dudes straight up thirsty for that butt. That's all people are, is thirsty for that game. And don't blow it out of proportion, people, or you're going to be unhappy as fuck.
Yeah. I just say it because a lot of people think it like always take it in a negative way. I'm like, dude, look, I played Fallout 4. I was like at the peak hype. Like, I know what it's like to, I was there, man. Like, I know what it's like to just drive your head right into a game and be like, this has to be incredible. And you believe it is until you pull your head out of your ass a couple months later and realize like, okay, this is good, but... and you start to develop a more critical nature. That's all I try to advise people with this game, because you could say that for a million other titles that come around that I start to get excited for and try to bounce it back on me. But with Cyberpunk, there's a very specific, palpable hype with that game that can be dangerous, and it absolutely can hurt the game. Because I think it will be a very good game. I don't know if it'll live up to the hype that people are putting it up to, which is just this unattainable game that like it's going to do absolutely everything. Like, you're going to be the best race car driver, 18 different endings, immersive first-person gunplay, like everything from top to bottom. I don't know. There's going to be shortcomings. It's doing a lot of things, and like games that do a lot of things, some aspects will be stronger than others. Number two, unless you have more to say, sorry.
It's not really something like for a discussion, but I was going to say, I don't really know of a game that we've all talked about that is a classic anyway, whether it be Zelda, the new Zelda on the Switch, or whether it be Death Stranding or whatever. I think almost every game, including Witcher 3, because sorry, but Witcher 3 had some shit ass controls until they patched it after release. So like, there hasn't really been a game that I think will ever live up to standards. And this one is already so beyond that I think the best bet is to return your standards back to wanting a good game and just and going from there. So I don't really follow the hype of what the world thinks, but I also, dude, I don't know about you, Matty, but every time I say something's good, there's actually more people saying to me it'll be bad. So to me, I actually see a lot of people thinking it's not going to be good.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? Because I bring up,
I get what you're saying.
I'll bring up saying I'm excited, and people be like, it's going to be dumb. So I don't really see this thing where everybody thinks it'll be good, but I do see the thirst you talked about.
It might be, the thirst for sure. That's definitely on Twitter. It's a good way of putting it too. It's a good term. But when it comes to like the it's got to be amazing, it might be because I run mostly an RPG focused channel, so it feels like that game is brought up a lot as a saving grace for literally anything. Like, well, this sucks, but thank God Cyberpunk's coming. Okay. And I share like the sentiment of like I'm very much anticipating it, like many people, but I just worry that basing everything off of that game can only lead to some measure of disappointment.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Number 2, do you think Mad Max the game will ever get a sequel? This is a perfect question for you. Had a blast with the game, even though it used the Ubisoft format of a checkbox type game. Karak, you are our resident Mad Max the game expert. Do you think it gets a sequel? Because technically, doesn't Warner Brothers have that too?
It also it also actually, now that I looked into it, actually did very good in total sales. But I just don't think there's no Mad Max movie that I know of coming out, which would have also helped, to do a crossover kind of thing or whatever. But I haven't heard any rumors at all about that. So I don't think so. I like the game, but no.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't mind it. I think it was, for as much as I don't like it as Karak did, I think that it had a lot of unique things to it that if they tried to round out the
fix them.
The Ubisoft checklist world, that game would be very, very good, because the combat, I love the combat. Yeah, you could be like, oh, it's free flow again, but man, tell me another game that had such bone crunching combat.
It was hilarious at times.
Holy.
Guy leaning into it.
Every punch, like the enemy jumped into your fist and just fucking ate it. And like the
awesome.
sound design, it's so good. Really, I would recommend it now, just because I'm sure the price is relatively low.
Super low.
Number 3, have you guys played Observer? Amazing game if you haven't. I tinkered with it for about 2 hours, hour and a half. It was all right. I did it on stream. It was okay. Did you play it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say I agree. I don't think it's the greatest game in the world. I think there's some good parts and bad parts to it.
Yeah. That's the one where you control like different cameras on the ship.
I think. No, sorry. I'm thinking, scratch that. I'm thinking of the Rutger Hauer led one. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, double check, because I might be thinking of the wrong game too. If that's the one that,
because I was not a fan of that one, by the way, the one you're talking about.
But yeah, if that's what we're thinking of.
Nope, I was talking about The Observer, which is it is Rutger Hauer as a cyberpunk detective.
Okay, now then I'm thinking of a different game.
What is the game you're talking about? Because I didn't like it either. Where you're the camera and you I think I even went into your Twitch channel when you were doing it. It was like, why are you playing this?
You did. Yeah. What the hell was that? Yeah,
I don't know. It was not fun though. That was boring, man.
It was definitely not a fun stream game. It was a little creepy, but it didn't pull me in. It was free on Epic Game Store too. That's why I played it. What the hell was it? We'll figure it out eventually. Holzer 19 once more. Say Starfield is a critical and financial success. Are you worried about the high demand by fans for The Elder Scrolls Fallout and Starfield, and Bethesda's ability to be able to keep the time between each entry and their respective franchises reasonable? Or do you think the studio expansions will be sufficient to address this potential issue? I think if Starfield is a huge success, you have a Rockstar situation with Bethesda. Because even if 76 sucks, people still love Fallout. Like if Bethesda tomorrow said, yep, Fallout 5's coming this fall, oh my God, internet would explode. Elder Scrolls definitely, out of all 3 of these, is probably their most popular, and the one they've handled the most successfully, with the Elder Scrolls Online being really good, and of course the mainline entries. But yeah, I think if Starfield ends up being as good as people had hoped, which who knows how that turns out, I really think they're just going to be like Rockstar. They'll just handle it as they go, because Elder Scrolls 6 is a really long ways away still. What do you think?
No, I agree with all that. I don't disagree with any of that. That's pretty much exactly what I was going to say.
Okay. That's a quick question answered, just like that. Natural Calamity has a set of questions as well. Number 1, how do you feel? Wow, a lot of Elder Scrolls and Fallout questions this time around. Usually they're pretty different. How would you feel about Elder Scrolls 6 if it was strictly a single-player game but released other parts of Tamriel as DLC, expanding the world, or maybe allowing travel to other smaller parts of these regions of Tamriel?
If it was good, I'd love it. If it was bad, I'd hate it. That would be awesome.
I would like that, but I think Elder Scrolls flourishes and finds its success in doing because we kind of see that with Elder Scrolls Online. So if you like that, go play ESO. It's further back in the Elder Scrolls timeline, but that's exactly what you're describing. Like, parts of Tamriel come out as DLC. So I don't think the mainline series will ever do what you're suggesting, because they
You don't think they'll do a
MMO.
Shivering Isles kind of thing? Because Shivering
They'll
Isles
do an
was
expansion, but not.
Oh,
like, we're in elsewhere. Now we're going back to Skyrim, like that type of thing.
Okay, then I'm confused. I was thinking more like Shivering Isles, then another one, then another one. Like,
no. Like,
I see what you're saying.
He's saying, like, you're in Morrowind, and then they release a Cyrodiil expansion, so you go back to where Oblivion was, and they release a Skyrim expansion. You go there. Like, I don't think they'll ever do that because of the MMO, at least.
I think you're right. The MMO, even though it's not them, has done tremendously well, and I think that's where they're gonna. You're also gonna see them try out things or whatever. They're able to get away with it. So yeah.
Number 2, do you think Elder Scrolls 6 will another ES6 question?
Wow.
Do you think Elder Scrolls 6 will one day become parallel to Half-Life 3 in becoming a game that never actually releases and becomes more of a dream than a reality? No, definitely not. Definitely not, because Half-Life 3 will never come out, probably. Maybe it's a little different because of Alex. I haven't played that, so I might have to take that comment back. But with Elder Scrolls 6, it's happening. It's absolutely happening. Like, they're actively working on it. And it's just about technology, they've said. Time in, time out. They're like, we're waiting for the right tech. We're waiting for the right tech. And that's not like Bethesda. You know, there are a lot of things, but I think if they wanted to get an Elder Scrolls game out by now, they would have already. But I think they have a pretty grand idea for the next one. And I admire them not compromising that vision. Whether it's good or bad, we'll see. But I admire that they have a good idea for what they want to do with the game. And I think that will make it the best possible game. So I don't think it'll be a Half-Life 3. It might be a while. You might have to wait another 5 years. But that's just me. What about you?
No, I agreed at the starting. I agree with what you're saying. No, that's all right. I will say people mistake Valve for a normal software company. Valve has hardware in the shape of VR, and they've got Steam in the shape of the largest digital storefront in the world. So there's a reason why Half-Life 3 is not the same. They do not need to do Half-Life 3. They do not need the money to do Half-Life 3. They did Half-Life Alyx, which is phenomenal and is a full VR Half-Life game. And they could certainly do 3 when they want to, but they are not in the same boat as Bethesda, which is technically a software developer / publisher. They are just software. They have to keep making stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Last question from Natural Calamity. Do you ever foresee console players ever getting the chance to have free-range modding on their games like there is on PC? This would be more for you because it's definitely more tech-heavy.
I think he's thinking beyond, like, doing it on PC and uploading it, somehow having a PC or a mouse and keyboard, and maybe doing it in a console environment. But no, there'd be no reason to do that. I think what your Fallout game so right now you can do the Fallout mods on the Xbox and the PS4, right? You can right. What's it called? I can't even remember the service.
Oh no, it's separate. Console mods are separate from, you're thinking of Creation Club, but a lot of people have accused Creation Club of just being paid mods.
Okay, so but you can do that. So I think that is the farthest you'll see, and also people creating mods on the PC and then like somehow porting them through a proper process on the console may happen, but not like in the environment of the console. There would be no real reason.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about it is also just how vastly different it is on PlayStation versus Xbox. PlayStation is like, you need assets that are only in game for these mods, whereas I think Xbox has obviously a little bit more free reign, and you'll see like complete map overhauls. Like there's one that covers the map in like this greenery.
Yes, I saw that.
An overgrown, and you can add some new guns to the game. Yeah. So Xbox has it better. I think you'll see a little more free range, but until number one, Bethesda's able to properly sift through mods that are completely stolen from people and others are getting credit for them. If they're able to iron that system out, and even if they iron that out, if the consoles can handle downloading that much and using, let's say you download an EMB, right? Like something that graphically improves your game. Can the I don't know if it would be called a graphics card inside a console. I apologize, but could that graphics card within the console handle the additional memory needed from that to provide those
solid
visual
frame
mods.
rate and all that.
Yeah, or would the game just crash? With a PC, it just lets you do it, but you got to have the parts to support it. With a console, the game's created to function on that system. Anything beyond that, they're unsure if it can be handled. So if consoles become something that you can plug and play, for lack of better words, I think, just conceptually speaking, it sounds like that's something that would come with it, the improvement of mods. But right now, if they're just one steady piece of architecture, that means Bethesda has a ceiling, and you can only go so high with it. All right, let's talk with Element 1. Hey guys, hope you're all having a fine day. If you could combine three companies, studios, games to make the perfect love child of one game, what would it be? For example, it could be like Dishonored's combat, Rockstar's world, and Obsidian's writing. It's a question I ask a lot of people to make a discussion, so I thought I'd ask you guys. A company, a studio, a game. Dishonored's combat, Rockstar's world, and Obsidian's writing.
All I can get out of my head, Matty, is the idea that a bunch of people were together and somebody actually asked this to start a conversation. I like, this is a crazy. I like the idea of that is just, I've never heard that kind of conversation. I'm not saying it's bad, by the way. It's just so alien to me. Like somebody would think that far ahead. Oh, it might be because my friends don't know dev companies, so I couldn't even ask it. Like they'd be all, who the fuck is like Obsidian? It's weird. They'd know Outer Worlds, let's say. They wouldn't know Obsidian. They would just think it was on Xbox or whatever. So I don't even. Oh, BioWare? No, not anymore.
I know one aspect at least would be Persona's music.
Oh,
that would be
right.
one.
Yeah, their music's
Persona's
awesome,
music.
isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, Persona's. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say BioWare, but not anymore. Like I wouldn't want BioWare now.
Persona's music. I'm gonna say Platinum's gameplay. I really like Platinum's modern gameplay, not button mashing, but like Astral Chain. Like there's depth, there's variety there. So I'm gonna say, but then now I feel like I'm talking about Astral Chain because they have a really good soundtrack. They have really sharp gameplay. But yeah, I'm gonna say Persona's music, Platinum Games gameplay, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna copy this person. I'm gonna say Obsidian's writing. So some type of JRPG that has like significant choice and consequence with like rapid fire, elegant looking gameplay would be pretty nuts. I don't know if it'd be like a dream game, but it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is I definitely want, Rockstar world building is next level. So Rockstar world, but Rockstar's storytelling is pretty good too. So it's like the moment I think of storytelling, I'm like, you know what? Rockstar is not bad at all with actually their storytelling.
Well, that's what happens, right? Like I think of Persona, I'm like, well, I like Persona's writing is incredible, and I'm like, well, I could take Persona's writing, I could take their gameplay because it's really flexible.
Right. And then you're talking about Persona.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's a tough question to answer.
It is.
So I was just trying to take aspects of other companies I like, because it's funny you mentioned Rockstar. I love their worlds, but I find myself it's easier for me to walk away from them.
Gotcha.
Whereas Bethesda's worlds, Bethesda Game Studios, there's something about them.
Wait.
There's something about them.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Like Fallout 3, Skyrim. Like I find those worlds far more intoxicating. Like I just find that I think it's the pace of exploration. And it's that Bethesda tells you when you discovered something, right? Like in Rockstar, it's just like, hey, here's this huge city.
Okay.
You just kind of walk around, find whatever. With Bethesda, it's like, you discovered the mysterious cavern. And I'm like, and I'm like, well, what's in here? And then you go in there, you find this little intermittent story, you leave, and then you see like a tower, and you're like, well, what's that tower? It's just the way they design their maps, I think. It plays with my interest, but not in a way like a Ubisoft game, which sometimes is just like, I feel like I have ADD. Like I'm just like all
You've discovered. You've discovered. You've discovered.
Now you're being shot at. Now you're being attacked. Like, it's just constant. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's why. And not that Rockstar's worlds do that, but I think there's a pace to a Bethesda Game Studios world that's why I think they became popular in the first place. It's just there's something to them. But I wouldn't complain if a Rockstar world came in. It's just that I find myself they're more real. They're so real. It's kind of crazy. And I don't know if I want real world, I'll walk out my front door. Yeah. And I guess it doesn't stop me from playing the game, but it definitely doesn't pull me in.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't really have a better, I don't really have more of an answer other than I want him as my friend so that we discuss these kind of things. My friends would never, my friends would never be able to talk about that.
Element, tag him away in the Discord.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Dow wrote, do you think Insomniac's next game will be Spider-Man, or do you think it could be something else like Ratchet and Clank, or maybe even revisiting Resistance? So I have heard, I'm not saying I have heard, it's been directly told to me through a source. I listened to a podcast, the Sacred Symbols podcast. A lot of people who listen to this should be familiar with it, like Colin Moriarty, Chris Ray-Gun. And Colin on that show has said, I'm friends with Colin. He's said on that show multiple times that he has on pretty good authority that Ratchet and Clank is next, or it is happening. There will be a Ratchet and Clank game. So that directly answers your question. I would love to see them go back to Resistance out of all three of them, because I loved Resistance 3. But that's the thing. Insomniac has the same issue that Rockstar has and that Bethesda may end up having. They experiment to their own demise. They have too many good series. So that's my stance on it. Let's say it's not Ratchet and Clank. What would pull your interest most out of these three?
I had heard that there was going to be a Sunset Overdrive sequel.
Oh.
So
really?
Yeah, I guess
that
mine's
would be
wrong.
Awesome.
Because I would believe Colin's more than mine, but that is what I heard was that's why you were starting to see movement, was that there was a high degree of desire to take Spider-Man, what they had learned from Spider-Man, and put it into a Sunset Overdrive game. But Ratchet and Clank, I think, makes more sense from a commercial standpoint.
Oh, absolutely. But Sunset, oh my God. I would be so happy if they took what they did with some of the movement in Sunset and put it in a Ratchet and Clank game. That's what excites me, because Ratchet was always strafing, jumping, flipping, and some light platforming, along with some jetpacking. Nothing crazy in the movement department. It was about the guns, the progression, the upgrading. Whereas if they took that movement from, obviously I don't think Spider-Man would be a good comparison, but if they had anything close to Sunset's movement, my God, I adore that game. That's probably one of my favorite Xbox exclusives, and it's not talked about nearly enough because I think it released way too early in the Xbox lifespan. But I thoroughly enjoyed that one. All right. Question number 4 from Natural Calamity. Ubisoft just revealed their new Assassin's Creed game. Do you think they will ever go back to sticking with one timeline for a few games and creating a story? I like this question because I think I read somewhere, and you would probably know better than I, that this is supposed to cap out some type of part of the modern day storyline. I think it started with Origins and it's capping out here with Valhalla.
No.
Okay.
No. What I read, no, and I'm not saying no as in you're wrong. I'm saying no, I didn't hear that. What I did read was that they stated that this is actually the continuation, and to make sure you're prepared for more modern story. Oh. Because they even brought the chick's name in. I can't even remember her name from Odyssey, but they were like, it'll continue her story, and you will be prepared for more modern gameplay, because they dropped her name in a tweet, and I just don't remember, or in a tweet or the interview that they did with Game Informer, one of the two.
Yeah, but one of those two. So. Yeah, I saw something about modern day continuation. So I don't know if there will ever be anything kind of like Desmond, where they're that was kind of I guess iconic. It just felt like there was, even if it wasn't the best, wasn't the best because it took you out of why the game was so good for too long. I don't think the actual modern story itself was, I don't want to say wasn't horrible, because I know some people really take issue with it, But I was watching a video by one of my friends, JV2017, and he made a video called like I Miss the Old Assassin's Creed. And he's saying like it's not that I dislike what they're doing now, but there was just something very special. And he kind of started going through like the end world stuff that was happening, how the plot became bigger over time. And I really appreciated that video. I would give it a look if you're interested on a more in-depth commentary on why the older Ubisoft Assassin's Creed games were special. But I think, you know, when it comes to the modern story, I think Ubisoft's pretty self-aware that this isn't what people are into the games for. So they try to keep it there for those who care, but not intrusive, which is hard to tell a story with in general. But you have to have a reason why you're there, I think at least.
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, too, if they removed it, it'd be a completely asinine because it wouldn't make any sense. It's driven why you're there in the first place is because of you going back into people's memories. So at that point, you do need to remove Assassin's Creed and just call it, you know, prior time history game number 5.
Yeah,
like
history Valhalla.
Yeah, history Valhalla. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense whether we like it or not, because it's been poorly done and fairly okay done. What was the one? Was it Black Flag where you were working for the game company going back in time?
Abstergo, yeah.
Yeah, I was fine with that. I had no issues with the idea of going back in time to get game ideas. Actually, I was like, whatever, you know, fine. I'm not saying I loved it. I'm just saying like that you have to have a reason to be in the Animus anyway. You have to have a reason to go back to these times.
It was a believable template. Like it was like, okay, now we're established in this entertainment company and we're making movies and books and games. And It's like, okay, so where are we going to go to next? Like it just right there, like it just got it out of the way.
And then moved on to the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it still pulled you out two times too many. And you'd wander the office in like first person. But I've kind of accepted it's got to be there to buy into the universe a little more. Droop Snoot said, if YouTube had a capable, smaller competitor, would you switch to that platform? No.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I would have a presence, but kind of like, I wouldn't call it Twitch that like smaller, capable platform, but I would have a presence, but I wouldn't outright switch.
I don't know if you heard. No, because I don't think I told you, but a couple days ago, I decided to look at when was the last video I made that made money, as in my hours spent.
Right.
Versus, and it was Days Gone. So it was over a year ago that I've ever made money in YouTube. It's always been lost now since Days Gone. Every single video has been a loss. I made $200 on video prior to Gears. And it was like 400,000 views. I literally make no money on YouTube now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard to tell now because of what's happening with ads. It's really hard to
so
tell.
I make better on Anchor. I've told you this behind the scenes. You know, it's like Anchor. That has helped, and Patron. But when you look, and you and I don't like to do this because we talked about this. I never like to segregate my time and go, this video took this long, so it should make this much, because then it's really depressing sometimes when you make a video and you'll be like, I made $1.50 an hour, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, just do it and see if you get by.
Yeah, right. But I did. We did it due to financial reasons, because we are in a midst of like layoffs and all this. And I'm like looking at it going, you know, how do we move forward and make sure that this is feasible in any way? And I looked back and it was Days Gone. World War Z and Days Gone both made actual money equivalent to like my old job, and everything after that has made less. In fact, I don't know about you, but I'm back to 2017. That's how much I make I made more money in 2017 in a month than I did this last month. That's how low I'm making.
It's hard to tell, because for me, 2018 was when I started to kind of flip my channel on its head.
Oh, right.
I started to do, remember we had that long talk, like where I started you were like, dude, like you gotta put more time into making videos a little longer, try other stuff. 76 drops. I had my most popular video on my channel ever drop that year. So
that's good.
Yeah, it was for me. 2019 was my most successful year in the terms of financial. That's why I'm just like, you know, I feel like I finally figured out YouTube. I put this in quotes, figured out. There's still stuff to learn, but I feel like I generally get what I've got to do now. To make it where this is a viable career path. But, you know, like I said, if let's say TubeU came up and they were like, yeah, we'll pay you a little bit more and you can upload the same content from YouTube on our platform. And it's like, yeah, that's one more place people can watch. If people don't like YouTube and their practices, they now have a place they can go to keep consuming what I do. Because one of the hardest things is that there are so many good opportunities. Like I run the Patreon, and you have the same thing. Like I run the Patreon stream, I make videos. I also help out with like Colin's Last Stand. I run a separate podcast outside of ours. I got a lot of cool things going on. I feel like if I had to start making separate content for yet another platform, that would be like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like I'm definitely at my max right now, and I don't think I could take on anything else, which is why like people ask me, where's your stream schedule? I'm like, I don't got one, because sometimes I want time off, sometimes I want to just get at it.
Right.
But yeah, ultimately what I'm saying is if they added a new platform, it would just have to be like, okay, you can A, guarantee you're gonna pay me, but B,
just so you know, that's how I took the question. I actually thought he was saying that. I thought he was saying you would not do YouTube anymore, but they were like guaranteeing you it would be smaller, but it was like you would still see the same success, but there's the possibility of doing better for sure. Because I don't know if I think the only way to do really well on YouTube, Matty, especially if you're like us, where reviews are really starting to drop, you've noticed this, I've noticed this, is to be a reaction video. Be like on your fucking thumbnail.
Or put my face in my thumbnail. People seem to like it. And I'm like, okay, like,
dude, that's because that it is in the metric also to look for faces. YouTube's metric looks for faces, just like it looks for guns to make sure it demonetizes a picture of a gun. So that's there, and reaction videos are there. But you and I, if we're on our trajectory currently, it's very rare you see a channel in a particular trajectory either shoot way up or shoot way down, unless there's drama involved. And so to me, if a new one came up and they were like, you could be, if you had the chance of doing better, yeah, probably, because YouTube is just, I think they have too many. We're not going to see a fix, I think. I mean, maybe, but I don't see them magically changing their minds on how they do things.
No, certainly not. Paca Luigi writes in, hey, fellas, what are some game suggestions y'all would make to an inexperienced gamer? I've been trying to get my wife more interested in playing games and or with me, but we don't appear to have the same taste. For added context, I'm obsessed with RPGs and making character builds. She enjoys titles like The Sims and Kirby games as a kid, but hasn't returned to them in quite a while. Breathe, Maddie. I've tried to pick games that don't require memorization and controller layout, aren't skill intensive or high stress. However, nothing seems to be clicking. Anything come to mind that has grabbed you or someone you know? I don't want to be pushy, just love the idea of sharing that experience together. Thanks, Paco. Great question.
Animal Crossing. Right? I mean, that's baby Sims, and it's got a shit ton of cutesy stuff. And I mean, I was going to say something like Skylanders or something, but those are still action. But if she likes Sim stuff, Animal Crossing for sure. I mean, very much so.
That's a good one, yeah. I mean, if she's into Sim stuff, Stardew Valley is another one that comes to mind.
True.
They did release multiplayer for that, so you guys could, even in the same house, hop on together, which would be cool. I get what you're talking about. When I first started dating my girlfriend, the first game I threw her on, and she played games before this, but she wasn't like as into it as she is now. The first game that she had been thrown on by me, I threw her right into the gauntlet and put her on BioShock, which is, this dark atmospheric game. I'm like, BioShock's the shit, let's do this. But, she was like, this is okay. And I'm in my head, I'm like, wait, what? And it wasn't until I threw her on Persona that she fell in love with that. So Persona is another one I'm going to suggest. I know that sounds insane. The reason I suggested is you said Sims, and Kirby, and there is a cutesy element to Persona artistically. When you bring up even the menu, it's art. There is the sim element of your day-to-day. The difficulty is not a worry. You can put it on the lowest difficulty, and combat is a relative breeze. And even if she dies, she hits retry and continues on right from where she was in that battle. So it's really not the end of the world. That would be a couple of my suggestions there. If you're looking for less hardcore ones, I would say, and this might be a little more costly, based off what we were talking about in the beginning of the show, board games are pretty good. Board games are as fun as video games, if not sometimes more fun. And
they teach you the buttons. Board games on video.
Yep, you got to think of it almost scientifically. Like you can't throw someone into Valorant, right? That's a good modern shooter that's very skill intensive. You got to put them in your Call of Duties first before you get them into something more demanding like that. So think of it that way. Luigi's Mansion, another really good one. That's not skill intensive. You're capturing ghosts. That's a very cutesy game too. I would say look into some of those. But I'd say start off with Karak's suggestion. Animal Crossing's really good. Last set of questions come from Great Ape, and then we are done for the week. Number 1, I noticed last week that I've actually put a decent chunk of time into Curse of the Dead Gods. Spurred by that, I gotten back into Risk of Rain 2. I doubt I'll ever, quote, beat, end quote, every game. But my skills aren't good enough, but they definitely scratch that itch for instant gameplay and action. Paragraph break. Do you guys have recent roguelikes or likes that you enjoyed? What do you like or dislike about them?
Roguelikes?
Or lights?
They're certainly one of my least favorite genres. I still like some of them.
For sure.
But what are those card ones? So, you did Darkest Dungeon, right?
Yes.
Have you done
that shit was hard.
It was hard, but I was going to say games like that. There's a Star Sector. I believe it's called Star Sector it's Star Traders. It was an Android. Then it came to Steam, and that one's fun. And it's just like Darkest Dungeon, but much easier. And you're also flying around your spaceship in an unlimited universe and doing jobs. But I mean, okay. God, those games are a little rough. I don't know, man. Dude, they're pretty stressful for me.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just, I don't like I've always said this, I don't like the idea of a game not ending. Something about that, I love the idea of if it ends, I can replay it because then there is something there if I want more, but I don't like the idea, and I do understand the allure of it, but I don't like the idea of I bought something and this thing will actually never end. And it's part of my personality. I don't like a job being left unfinished.
Undone.
Yeah, and so it just doesn't work well with me, at all. So that's just personally where I stand. I think that Risk of Rain is great. Also, Slay the Spire is that's very fun. These are fun games. I put 20 hours into Slay the Spire in 1 week, boom, just like that. My mom surprised me with it for Christmas. It was a really cool gift. And I was just like, wow, all right, I'll play it. And I really liked it because I love card games. And, I didn't put any more time into it after that because eventually I completed all 3 runs and there was more to it there to find out, but it just wasn't enticing. It was like, okay, I'm running the same dungeon. I'm doing builds and I don't know, man. It loses its luster pretty quickly because you start to feel the limits of that procedural generation. It's the only way I could describe it. You start seeing the same enemies, you start seeing the same decks, you start seeing the same gameplay elements. It just starts to rinse and repeat, and then you go, all right, what can I do next?
You mentioned, or he mentioned Blood Gods. I actually have covered that game a little bit on my impressions, and I would actually say I'm blown away he continued to play it, because to me, if you just said the exact same thing I feel that even if there's the ability to play it forever, I always know it's a 2-lane highway. It'll never be 4. There'll never be a turnoff. An open world game that maybe has animals and shit, well, then my brain can sort of make some stuff up and weird things can happen. But in those kind of games, I just know it's always going to be this. Even though, things can change, you can die, you can start back, you can see different enemies, or they're slightly adjusted. I'm not a big fan of them. Mm-hmm. There's very few that I really like.
Number 2. Steam and PSN seem to be having sales focusing on Japanese game and Japan's Golden Week celebration. What games would you recommend for cheap besides the one below? Paragraph break. Based solely Maddie's recommendation, I'm picking up a game in a genre that I'm not familiar with, Danganronpa 1. Going to give it a shot this weekend. Let's go, Karak. We got another one. We got him. Let me bring up the sale. I didn't know we'd have a sale-based question. Sometimes I should preface these questions, but I always tell my girlfriend, I was like, I don't look at them.
No, it's way better not knowing. It's way better not
knowing. Extremely fun just to see what you guys come up with each week without any type of warning. All right, let's see here. PlayStation sale. These are all blog posts from earlier. Here we go. I think this should do it. PlayStation Golden Week sale, official US store. Here we are. All right. As it loads in, man, something's wrong with the internet.
Yeah, by the way, I was going to say, luckily Discord's been fine. Shut up, dog. Luckily Discord's been fine. But dude, there was no issues or no end of issues yesterday with Discord, Steam, all of my services.
Yeah, it's not working right now. Like nothing's coming up for the Golden Week sale. It just like loaded.
But is he just saying games? I don't know if he's saying he's just saying games as a whole, right? That are
So if you got any Japanese related games, JRPGs that come to mind, here we go. It finally loaded. Let's see here. Dead or Alive 6 is $21. I really like that as a fighter, but there's not much to it.
That's a good fighter. I just wish its DLC wasn't just an abortion.
It's awful, dude. It's
the worst awful. DLC I've ever seen.
That's not an exaggeration, though. That's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it is actually terrible.
And you know why? Because it's a good game. If it wasn't a good game, I would not talk about it. But I got mad a couple days ago about that very game because I wanted to play it. And I just was like, nope.
God Eater 3 is $23, usually $60. I really recommend this if you got a buddy to play with. It is it is very reminiscent of Monster Hunter, except it's more anime, and it's very smooth. It's very smooth, and I played a lot of it. I enjoyed it. I would recommend that. Did you play The Last Remnant? Was that one that I think Dude,
I love The Last Remnant. No, I oh, wait. Remnant, I was not a fan of. That's a shooter that's in Diablo where it got random procedural generation.
Oh.
The Last Remnant is a JRPG that is not bad. Yeah, I like that one.
It's $10 remastered.
Oh, remaster? I didn't even know there was a remaster. Gotcha.
Yeah, that was, I think, a shadow drop last year. If you like Persona, there's the Dancing Endless Night collection of Persona 3 and 5 Dancing. Those would have been great answers for earlier of games that you never thought you'd like. But I think it's just I love Persona because I personally don't like rhythm games, but I like Persona rhythm games. And this is a good deal. It's $21 for both games. Meanwhile, if you got, let's say, Persona 3 Dancing separately, that's $20. So it's pretty much buy one, get the other free. We're going to keep scrolling here. Soul Calibur 6 is $18. I would say pass on that. What would you say?
Yep. Yeah, last good Soul Calibur was Yoda and Darth Vader, whatever that was. 4, right?
Yes, in my opinion at least.
Oh, amazing customization. Here's one.
Valkyria Chronicles 4. You play that?
A bit, yeah, but it was good. What I played was good.
$12.
Yeah.
Is
Eternal Sonata on there? I loved Eternal Sonata.
I don't think that's on PS4. My friend streamed that through PS Now. Yeah, he likes that game a lot. He streamed it through PS Now. Dragon Quest XI, $30.
Oh, really? Because I was about ready to buy that yesterday. Because one of the guys on the podcast says it's really good. Is it not? Because he has a lot of money, so he buys random shit.
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't take... The thing is, and I don't say this often, but I would not take my opinion all that serious on it because I'm going off of a lot of like in-depth opinions I've heard that just each time I've heard from the get-go that game has pushed me away. I tried the demo, didn't like that, but more so my biggest gripe, and it seems to be confirmed in literally every review I've seen, every video I've seen, it is your very classic JRPG, as in grinding. Everything's very familiar. Yeah, very familiar. Like the storyline's familiar. I even heard in one account that like something happens in the game that sends you back to the beginning of the game. Not like a bug, but like a story moment happens, sends you back to the start of the game, and you go through all those same areas again in like a second arc. You just retread the whole map. And that game got some really wicked good scores, and maybe I gotta lay my hands on it to understand it, but my good dude, everything I heard about that game has not sounded remotely appealing. That's just me, though.
But I'll skip it because I needed it to be amazing by everybody to get it. So, yeah, and he buys a lot of shit that, like, is questionable. But I did look at it and I saw it and I thought it looked sort of up my alley. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll skip it. I have no issue skipping that game.
All right, we got a couple more here. We'll go through and then we'll wrap up the show. First sale I saw here was Digimon Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory, $15. Have you played the Cyber Sleuth games?
No, but I like Digimon. I have a soft spot. I have a soft spot for Digimon. I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know much about Digimon, but I know my friend really liked the first Cyber Sleuth game. Apparently, if you played the first Cyber Sleuth game, it's kind of like how we felt about Attack on Titan, where you played the second one, you've played the first one, vice versa.
Right.
Kind of the same games. Yeah, so just know that if you played the first, you kind of played the second. But if you haven't played the second, then which I haven't, you can just hop into the sequel and probably get the best version of that gameplay. Last suggestion I've got here is for $10, Star Ocean: The Last Hope, 4K and full HD remaster. A lot of people love Star Ocean: Last Hope, and it looks like a game that's got my name written all over it. It looks so cool, but I've tried it so many times when I was younger and I could not get into it. Maybe I would like it now. But yeah, that's just another one I will throw out there for you, Great Ape. Hopefully those suggestions helped. Do you agree with either of those two?
So Star Ocean, was it originally an Xbox 360 game?
Yes.
Okay. So I was not a huge fan. If I remember right, I did try that and I was not a huge fan.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It was, I think it was because the game begins with like your ship crashing.
Yeah. Okay. That's the game.
And you had to like find something. And I remember it just being super vague. And like I said, I was much younger at the time. Like I think it was 13, 14. And so I'd hope now in my mid-20s I could probably figure it out. But I just remember it being so vague and annoying that I was like, oh, God. But I'd be open to giving that a shot. I might even pick that up for $10 and just kind of leave it on the back burner. That might be something I'd want to return to. We'll see. But those are just a set of suggestions.
Those are all PSN, right? Or PS. Okay. So for Xbox fans, dude, seriously, check out PSO Online 2. Holy shit.
It looks great.
Fantasy Star. And it's so old, like, because it's a remake or just like, but man, is that game fun. So if you like those kind of games, check that game out. It's free. Might as well. Like, but seriously, very fun game. Stupidly fun. Never thought I'd like it.
Looks fun. Yeah, I want to give that one a whirl. I wanted to play it for a video when the beta came out. I have it downloaded on my Xbox. It's just I got to go play it.
Dude, you should try it because I have a feeling you're going to do what I did where I was like, I don't know. I was sort of like yes and no. And after a couple hours, I was like, God damn. Like, it's just good, shallow fun. And yet you can still build out your character and dive in deep if you want. Very cool.
Awesome. Well, that's the last of our patron questions, my friend. We are officially done for the week. Congrats. You've made it this far. We hope you all enjoyed this show. Karak, you got anything that you want to add in?
Hashtag. What's the hashtag? We always got to do the hashtag. That's like...
Yeah, we had a lot of good moments throughout this show. It's hard to pick one out.
A lot of Japanese stuff. Do I seem not that should be the hashtag? You don't want to be hashtag Japanese or something.
Yeah,
look
I don't
really
know
weird.
How well that would go.
But did we? It feels like tonight or today was JRPG heavy. Like I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It feels like
no, definitely, especially in the end, the scale tipped. Man. Because like in the beginning, we had like a really good like. I heard this discussion versus I heard this. We were just like trading like what we had heard. And I think that was really probably fun to listen to for our audience. Maybe we could just do JRPG heavy and just.
Or you could do What'd You Hear? Like, because we did you heard something, I heard something. It's like, what'd you hear?
Yeah.
What'd you hear? But somebody probably spell it Jew and then we'd be in trouble.
Oh no. Please don't do that. What did you hear?
What did you hear?
Yeah.
Would be fun.
Let's do that.
Hashtag
all
What'd
right.
You Hear?
If you got that deep, tag us, let us know. We'd love to hear from you, feedback and all. And with that, we will wrap it up and we'll talk to you guys next week. I think next week, if I remember correctly, or rather if my dates in my head are correct. Next week, yes. So next Friday will actually be a day after that Xbox event. So we'll be able to talk about that. So
That'd be cool.
Look forward to that and our reactions there. Will you be streaming that by chance?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably. I mean, what time is it? Do you know? Because that's the thing is I'm West Coast and they never care about me. So it's like 6 a.m.
right.
Or something.
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. for you.
I'll try. I got to figure out with the wife because you got to push her out so you don't have like, somebody walking around in your background.
It's also just, at least for me, it's also hard at like 8 a.m. to get excited over anything.
Dude, I hear you. And I'm a morning person, but I've like lifted weights and I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't want a bad attitude during it. We'll have to see. I'll check it out.
All right. Well, we hope to see you guys next week. We hope you enjoyed the show and we will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Peace out. You just yawned.